understand that the Democrats right now are a bunch of idiot buffoons. They have the audacity to blame the queers for being too left-wing and insist on shifting their politics right. Now, I ain't saying there's all bad. There's that Mamdani guy. He's pretty slick. And AOC even endorsed his ass. I know what a wise guy like you can do. Get out there and protest them fascist dingrods. No kings, no problem, am I right? And since you're the musical type, spread the message through your art. Just tell him Vinny sent you.
New York City Democratic mayoral candidate and Muslim Zohran Mamdani has gone over 24 hours since last condemning Hamas, therefore implicating him as a terrorist against Jews. In other news, studies show ethno-states are in and human rights are out. In the interest of providing a fair and balanced debate on this subject, Republican Congressman Fred Dingleberry will be joining us tonight facing off against a homeless man's dog we stole from outside the studio. This has been Modern Journalism.
Turn that shit off. You know I hate the tools over at the Legacy Media. So, you join DSA or what? This country needs it, honestly. The Democrats can't keep polishing the same turd every election. We need socialist solutions to all the fucked up shit going right now. Don't take me for a dumbass, though. I'm not talking third party. It sucks, but we gotta change the Dems into something less shit.
I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exists for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress.
Welcome to America's best radio show, Patriot FM. The only show on air that gives you the truth. And none of that woke, gay, empathy you all despise, because subtlety is for cowards.
OMG, I am so homosexual.
You're listening to the most degenerate music by Jays, Doug, whatever. Bet this idiot can't even define what a woman is. I should call her.
That's what I'm talking about. First time singing the songs from Riverboat Jack. Shout out. I don't know what I'm doing really, but I got passion. And that's what it's about. It's all about passion.
Everybody, how are we doing today? Whew, we are going to be doing our best here to keep our stream going. Good evening, Ashley, J. Curtis, hello, hope you're doing well. Hello, Hex 000. Hello, Abyssal Liz, hello, Logic, hello, Rundo, hello, Valkyrie the Smith, hello, Metal Kitty Mom, the metalist kitty we know. Hello! How are we all doing today, folks? Hello, Hit the Mat. And as always, folks, if you want to be in the on-screen chat, you can go on over to riverboat.gg. You get a lot of emotes for free. Hello, Burning Sock 5. Hello, Legiar. Wait. Legiacris. Legiacris? We'll try that. Hello! Hello, Visantha! Elf! Hello, Queenie! Hello, Buck Nutty! Hello, Punky Gal! Hello! Hello, Yannick the Newborg! Hello! Tiralana! Hello, Thomas the Spank Engine! Hello, Rhyme Jack! Hello, Royal Tiger! Hello! How we doing? Hello, Minute Rice. Hello, Zyros. Hello, Isaiah Bunny. Hello, Jenny Ah. Hello, Music is. Hello, Motoko Colster. Hello, Sheepish T-Rex. Hello, Gid Wells. Hello, Not Smirt. Thank you for being the first person to financially support stream today and for the 5 tier 1
News from the
subs.
FGC. Of the 6 major releases since last year, 2 of them are dead. 2 are held up by
It's true.
cults. 1 is unfinished and 1 has been sabotaged.
Do you guys want a hot take? Do you guys want a hot take? The fighting game community thrives off of arcades. Fighting games are still chasing the high of like arcade machines that got kids to crowd around them in the early days of gaming. And if we want to bring back the fighting game community, we gotta not just have online games. You gotta go out and build arcades. You gotta build them again. All right. If you
and
build
we
it,
can't
they will
even
come.
go DCKO mode yet, sad face.
I'm sorry, Not Smirt. Thank you for the $5 dono. Yeah, you gotta have more in-person events, but like it's not just because I think people get into this idea of like the event mentality around fighting games, and like it doesn't have to be an event. You have to build up like the arcade culture again, you know? And like I don't know how you do that. I don't have a way forward here, mostly because arcades are kind of built around children having disposable income and cash money, and like a lot of people don't carry cash anymore. And like on top of that, you have to have third spaces where like parents can like go do their shopping or whatever and be like, "Yep, my kids are in the arcade." And we're not worried that some kind of creep is going to come and grab them. And like I don't know how you overcome those problems outside of like a systemic approach to like rebuild the existence of third spaces generally. Well, but part of the problem is barcades are great, but they're oriented towards adults. And it's not that adults can't enjoy fighting games, it's just that like you need that on-ramp for folks. You need the on-ramp to get people into fighting games, otherwise like it's wild out there. There are only 2 genders. Counterpoint. Historically and statistically, you're wrong. What's crazy to me is like people come and be like, there are 2 genders. It's like, bitch, there's a
Last
country
thing
with like
before
2
bed,
billion
the
people that
FGC
has
thrives
a
off of
third
local
gender.
scenes. And this is why I think Evo needs to die. Because it's trying to homogenize it all and kill non-Evo tourneys.
I mean, I think having like a big tourney is great. Like I think a big name top tier event is wonderful. But like you need the culture that is born out of just people hanging out and shooting the shit, you know? It also takes time to not get washed, which is hard when you're a working adult. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Like when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, what, a 200-hour RPG? I can do that. That's fine. I got my entire summer vacation. As an adult, you're like, fuck, man, that's a solid 2 years of my life. But yeah. I just like when people come in here and they're just like dead ass there's only two genders. It's like you literally have never gotten your head out of your ass to like look at what's happening just like in other countries, have you? There are only two genders, based motherfuckers and chud cucks. Indeed. Indeed. Nailed it. All right. So, folks, we have a lot of content to get through today, mostly because stream crashed last night. We weren't able to get through all the stuff we needed to get to. So, we're going to be giving it another try, and we're going to be going hard, you know? Bigots are so tiresome. You know, I turn it into a game mostly because I encounter so many bigots. Like it's like you have to gamify it a little bit, you know? Well, that is, I think, the big systemic issue with Evo is that it got bought by Saudi Arabia, you know? Same with EA now. Like, all of the corporate consolidation is only negative. Nothing bad happened, right? Right? Well, you know what? We're actually going to start with good things. Nothing bad happens, only good happen. You know, as Donald Trump says. Let's do this. I need to organize this a little bit better. My back end's a little bit wonky. Is this it? No, we wanted this.
Getting that data.
Yeah, there we go. And this one...
Did you in fact...
This one we'll move towards the end here. There we go. You know, maybe we'll check that out on a new day. All right. God. Also, this week in particular, we've been blessed with like all kinds of just absolute dog shit conservative content. Like it's truly like bottom of the barrel shit. Like, oh, guess what? Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson, the guy who was previously called Big Papa Fascist, had a debate about Charlie Kirk's, death and murder. Hosted by Patrick Bet-David. And, like, I can't imagine anything more stupid than that. Charlie, who, the guy, you might recognize him from just AI slop videos, who's just been incorporated into the AI hive mind. But holy shit, they did a 4-hour-long debate. A 4-hour-long debate. And like, I have very little interest in getting into that, but there is a part of me that is morbidly curious to see just how long it takes me to get over bafflement and reach boredom, you know? Wait, so you didn't end up finishing stream last night? No, because stream crashed twice, and I needed to figure out what was wrong, so I stayed up late and fixed it. Yes. Also, Tim Pool went on Jubilee and he rage quit, and also, which I would love to cover, but we will have to cover it in a long and onerous fashion, which is why it is going to be not the upcoming Dono goal, but the one after that. All right, just as a heads up. That being said, he did go and cry about it on Steven Crowder's show, and maybe we'll get to that at some point as well, because both of them just commiserated about how bad. Oh, all the leftists, they're all bad faith. None of them want to debate. But we all know one leftist who wants a debate. And neither Steven Crowder nor Tim Pool want anything to do with him.
Oh no, Sam Cedar. Wow, what a fucking nightmare.
Did Tim actually rage quit? He actually rage quit. He actually stood up and walked out of the room. Tim Pool on Jubilee is a good watch. He fucking cell phones so hard. I mean, like, there's no way for him not to. He's a very stupid man. All right. Careful, Jubilee keeps copy striking. They got dead domain stream yesterday. Yeah, the thing is, I think that one of the issues, and I've been able to do this on my videos covering Jubilee, you have to talk a lot. Like if you just let a clip go, like if you just let it go uninterrupted for like a full minute, they'll get you, you know? So you gotta be a real pause champ to make it through those. It's stupid as fuck. Apparently you have to be Hassan in order to watch Jubilee. Well, also Hassan watches it on Twitch and then uploads the video to YouTube, which is a different content ID system. You have to be popular. I mean, you have to be popular in so far as like they want you watching their content, you know? There are no leftists that I can beat to debate, indeed. Correlation, thanks for jumping over to riverboat.gg. All right. So, all that being said, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to kick it off with some good news coming out of Florida, of all places. And then we're going to talk about Iran. And then we're going to talk about Andrew Cuomo. Then we're going to talk about Oliver Larkin. And then we'll get to some other spicy content, all right? So, folks, buckle in. We are going for it. It should be fair use if you're doing commentary. The problem is the DMCA system for live streams, again, is different from what goes on with videos that you just upload. And so the videos that you just upload get like scanned by Content ID and then like demonetized,
Fun
right?
fact. Most locals also run casuals on setups and can be a good way to meet people.
True.
Too bad mine is a 2-hour drive away TTTT.
Oh,
I seem to be very passionate about this lol.
you do seem to be very passionate about this. Thank you for the $15 dono. Not Smirt, by the way. Not Smirt, just putting the entire stream on their back, carrying us towards our goal. Let's go. Also, spicy. Yeah, we're gonna talk about some, not great things happening, but Oh, yeah, what I was saying is that the fair use thing is something that gets, like, fought off stream. So if you want to argue that content usage was fair use, you can do that in the uploaded video, but it also gets, like, it's a process that can take anywhere up to, like, 30 days. So, it's a real shit show, and it's made to defend, copyright holders like, Disney and shit from people streaming full movies or whatever. Okay. You all ready to dive into our first bit of content? And I guess, before we get too deep, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, do the things, check out Imogene Olivia, and also consider supporting the stream financially, because you guys make this show possible, and I could not do it without you fine folks. So hit those buttons. EP Sapphic, thank you for the $5 super chat. Go.
Sit right
Click the
now,
button.
so
Click the
don't
button.
be active and
Click the
chat
button.
sound great
Click the
to see you,
goddamn button.
and make sure
Click the
to
button.
stay
Click the
hydrated
button.
and remember to
Click the
check
button.
when
Click
you
the
eat within
goddamn
calls.
button. Click the button. Click the That's true. Click the button. Click Eating is now just navigating a minefield. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click 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 button. All right. Let's do this. Do.
Hello, fellow 45-year-old children, Tim Pool.
Cy Abelman, thank you for the $5 super chat. Very much appreciated. And let me update our tally there. There we go. Here we go. Cool. Did you do something new with your hair? It looks great. Or I'm blind and never noticed it before. I tied some of it back behind my head, and I got a trim a few days ago. So that's what's different. I guarantee if I let my hair out, it would just look a hot mess right now. All right, you guys ready to dive in? Let's do this. So, folks, we need to talk about one of the most incredible socialist upsets in modern politics. All right? You guys ready for some great news? I'm ready for great news. Let's just jump right into it, shall we?
Steve Kornacki to walk us through the results that we've got so far. Steve, all kinds of primaries being called right now. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, look, the votes came in real fast and a lot of clarity in Florida. Here's the surprise of the hour. It is in the race for the United States Senate, the Democratic primary here. Angie Dixon, an underfunded state legislator, has defeated handily Alexander Vindman. Vindman, this is a name I think folks might remember. He was the whistleblower at the heart of the 2019 impeachment of Donald Trump. He came into this with a ton of national support, a ton of national money. There had been some concerns from Democratic leaders that maybe he was a bit complacent as a candidate. Wow, that proved to be true. He's been upset by Angie Nixon. Nixon, who came at him from the left, who joined the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, during this campaign, who wins this primary. Now, Nixon in the general election is going to face off against Ashley Moody. Moody is the appointed incumbent senator right now. And Marco Rubio left to join the administration. Moody was appointed to replace him. She's now running for the seat on her own. She easily wins the Republican primary. This is not a race. This U.S. Senate race in Florida was not considered, looking ahead to November, a top-tier race. Democrats had been hoping they could make it one, but the Democratic establishment at least, their calculation was based on Vindman winning this primary, not on a candidate as far left as Nixon winning this Democratic primary tonight. So that's the surprise of the hour statewide in Florida.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea of how unexpected this was, the results here speak kind of for themselves. You've got like 150,000 more votes so far cast for Angie Nixon here. And some of the data here, let's just take a look here. Alex Vindman spent 36 times as much on ads as did Angie Nixon. The loser of this race spent $2.2 million. Angie Nixon spent $60,000. Zero ad spend on any platform. Like, that's nuts. That's nuts. Like, there's just, like, it doesn't matter how much money they throw. It is possible to overcome. So the socialist got in. The socialist won the primary. So we'll have to see how this shapes up for this particular race when it goes to the general. But this is great news. This is wonderful news. Okay, maybe she should have bought some TV ads, though. She won! What do you mean she should have bought some TV ads? She won the race. She won her primary. against someone who's spending 36 times. You can't afford ad spend with like $60,000 in your bank. Like you can't, like that's just not in the budget. If your entire budget is $60,000 for a political campaign against someone who has millions of dollars in their bank account. Like that's great. She didn't need to do more than show up, I guess. She was organizing on the ground. God, like, you guys, come on. But like Hong lost because of the lack of TV ads? No. Well, in that particular case, it was like one of the decisive factors. There were other decisive factors there as well, like a lack of national support or any of those things, right? But like when you're talking about doing this on a budget of $60,000, you do not have money to spend on ads. And like when we're talking about, oh, well, that did in Francesca Hong's campaign. This is just different. It's different because she didn't get any kind of support from outside of Florida, really. And she persevered, she organized a ground game, and like that turned out to be the more important factor. A lot of establishment Democrats wrote this race off as just like a completely unwinnable situation. They got Alex Vindman in there, and he's going to do well in Florida because he's throwing trans people under the bus, throwing trans kids under the bus. And you know what? It's just nice to see that maybe that message isn't as salient with the Democratic base as many folks thought. Money is very powerful, but it is not everything when it comes to politics. And I think that that's worth remembering. Now, that all being said, it hasn't been like a great sweep, right? Obviously, one of the big losses of the night is Oliver Larkin, who failed to oust Jared Moskowitz, who is an AIPAC Dem through and through. And that is, I think, a
Sometimes
truly
you need
sad
to be
situation.
enough.
Sake Tanuki. You gotta want it, okay? And part of with Francesca Hong is that she did very, very well, but there were a lot of people who were swayed by the argument of who can win in the general versus who do I want to win in the general. And I think that was a pretty big concern. I know that with Hong, Bernie Sanders came forward and said like he didn't endorse because he's not intimately familiar with Wisconsin politics and he thinks the people of Wisconsin should decide that, which, could be considered a bit of a cop-out. But that being said, this is a case where, Angie Nixon's messaging was enough to organize a bunch of folks to turn out. And not just like a small number of folks. Like, for comparison here, Oliver Larkin's race, right, had around 30 to 40,000 votes cast, just giving it an eyeball here. But when we're looking at Angie Nixon's race, we're talking about a statewide race. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes cast. And so when we're talking about like, oh, she won a statewide primary with $60,000 as her campaign budget, that's insane. That's just unprecedented, really. So hats off to Angie Nixon. I'm real excited to see that news. It is a tragedy that Oliver Larkin was not able to seal the deal, though with a solid 36% of the vote. He didn't perform poorly. But I will say that I think that he should continue to try to run for office. And I say this because I wasn't really familiar with his game. I wasn't familiar with his game. And there is a chance that I might be able to get Angie Nixon on the show before like before she goes into the the fray of the general. We can talk about this upset. Maybe I'll see what I can do to put that together. My my response time is all across the board. But that being said, really cool stuff. Now, I want to also take a moment to look at Oliver Larkin, just because his main campaign strategy was going on Fox News, and while that ultimately did not pan out for him, I do want to say I do think that he was onto something here, you know. And let's just let me just show you what I mean.
Backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, running in one of the toss-up districts that could decide control of the House, according to our Fox News Power Rankings. Olive Mary, Larkin, Fed now, Mark wage thing. I just want to ask you, because I'm sitting here in California, I'm wondering if you know that when they raised the minimum wage on fast food restaurants in California, that it led to restaurants shutting down, it led to employees being laid off, and it led to one major brand pulling its headquarters out of the state altogether. Are you ready for the consequences for things like that?
Yeah, and I think Florida voters are ready for those consequences as well. Floridians, over 60% of us voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour in 2020. And frankly, we're not going to need people working 3 or 4 jobs if one job is paying a living wage. So I think the American people want to see us raise the minimum wage, which has gone the longest period with.
Like, you can see he's already pissed off the host. Because this is not a convenient answer. It's just it's not convenient for what Fox News wants out of this.
Without being raised since it was established.
Yeah, I'm curious why not capitalism over socialism? Why are you choosing socialism?
Well, democratic socialism is about bringing the systems of government that govern our lives under democratic control. We already pay a Medicare tax. Why don't we all have access to Medicare? We already pay into Social Security. Why are the wealthy and elite getting away with paying a lower effective tax rate on Social Security than the rest of us with the Social Security income cap? So the capitalist system in the United States of America, we've seen the Great Recession, we've seen the enormous transfers of wealth under COVID-19, and we want equity in our system. When America has been at its best, we've invested in the social safety net like we did under FDR in the golden age of American capitalism in the 20th century. We just want to see, with a democratic socialist principle, that we're investing in the American people and bringing our systems under democratic control.
Would you at least concede that capitalism in the United States has been extraordinarily effective, raising more people in the history of the world than anywhere out of poverty and leading to amazing developments, inventions, so on and so forth, putting America where it is?
I would say that when America has been at our best and when we've raised people out of poverty, it's because we've invested in the social safety net, when we've invested in the minimum wage and Social Security. So I think many of the greatest successes in American capitalism have been when we've invested in spreading the equity around and not just privileging the wealthy and elite like we have currently under our economic.
I just read about the Anoka County prosecutor, not the Anoka County prosecutor, the former Anoka County assistant prosecutor. But yes, there was what the Anoka County assistant attorney, which is not the assistant prosecutor, my bad, was caught as part of a apparent sprawling sex trafficking ring. And yeah, it's a big deal, but also it's going to require reassessment of some of the cases that she worked on, obviously. But that being said, she was placed on leave earlier this year in February because of this investigation. So, and then she was fired, obviously. But if you're what's going on in Minnesota, it's, sometimes government officials abuse their power.
System and the billionaire tax cuts advanced by Donald Trump.
I'm assuming you, with the rest of the DS.
I guess the difference in Minnesota is that when we find out government officials did that, we get them out of the positions that they were placed in and investigate them and then charge them with crimes, unlike the Trump administration.
Say platform are in favor of open borders. I wanted to play some of this video from Ceuta, Spain, just to give you an idea and maybe get your take on what's happening.
I'm so proud of the DSA.
Right, like Oliver Larkin might not have won his race, but like he needs to be someone who continues to be a force for the left. I definitely think he should run again because like it was a long shot going up against a very established and very well-funded establishment Democratic candidate, but we've seen with Angie Nixon that it can be done. It was not a hopeless endeavor from the start. And establishment candidates and establishment Democrats in particular, they want you to believe that it's hopeless. They want you to believe that there's no way you could ever oust a Joe Crowley. There's no way you could ever get rid of a Moskowitz. But like, the reality is they are way more vulnerable to a bunch of us getting angry and voting them out than, you know, they are comfortable with. So, yeah. I think it just defies the popular concept or misconception the rest of America has about Minnesota. I'm from Chicago. I expect corruption.
Why isn't Imperial Muff hosting a Fox News show?
I mean, great question. That being said, Saki Tanuki, thank you for
If
the
you
5
aren't
tier 1
familiar
subs.
with this absolute legend, you need to be.
Which one is this? Oh yeah, I like this guy. This guy's great. Well, I'm not going to play this clip right now though. Yeah, Minnesota has corruption issues, same as any other place. The thing is, when we're talking about this particular scheme, right? We're talking about a relatively small one, and I know that that's like, you know, cold comfort, I suppose. But like when we're talking about this, we're talking about like a $1 million operation. We're talking like, oh, people made like a few $1 million off of this, which is a lot of money individually, but in the grand scheme of things, like we have Donald Trump in office right now stealing billions of dollars. You know, we got corruption of government officials. They just tried to charge one of the researchers that was working under the Trump administration with like conspiracy because he refused to release some emails, and they got him on accepting like 2 bottles of wine valued at like $40 a piece. And like, that's what the Trump administration is saying corruption is. And like, meanwhile, Donald Trump is accepting fucking private jets. Like, that's insane. That's just insane. Like, I'm sorry. We're just in the most corrupt and most weaponized political administration that has ever been in the United States. So like, yes, there is corruption in all corners of the United States, but like, one assistant attorney in Anoka County on the county level engaging in illegal activity, yeah, it's bad, but it's also far from like the worst thing that's happening right now. And like, I will say, what I find personally far worse is like the abuse that the women that they recruited were subjected to. Because effectively the Anoka County assistant attorney is like, they're facing like 104 felony counts right now, you know? And they abused many people. But like, the problem there is the abuse, and I think it is in fact a good thing that in Minnesota we actually hold people like this accountable for their crimes. They're all arrested, they are all in custody, and they are all facing essentially a life-ending amount of charges. So
Happening there, as they call it, chaotic when they open the borders and they let the flow of migrants in. If we can play some of this video, What do you think of that? Are you afraid that might happen here, or do you welcome this?
I don't think there's anything to fear with people seeking a better life in the United States of America. My wife is the proud daughter of Nicaraguan immigrants. We have consequences right now as a result of Jared Moskowitz, my opponent, and 46 Democrats, as well as every Republican voting to pass the Larkin Riley Act that has not only detained immigrants with no criminal conviction whatsoever, but they're now sweeping up American citizens, people who are being racially profiled. So we're seeing people dying in ICE detention, being shot on the street, like in Biddeford, Maine, just a few weeks ago, and of course in Minneapolis. So we have an out-of-control ICE
what about the
agency
people killed by the illegal immigrants? What about the many, many people, the Larkin Rileys, I can go down the list, being killed by illegal immigrants? Why are there no protests for them? Why would you not protest for them? Would you?
Well, because one is being killed by a criminal who is then charged and convicted of murder, and the other is being done by our government and then getting off scot-free. So, like, I think there's a big difference in power between random criminal and the United States government. Like, we should be holding the United States government to a higher standard than the standard we apply to criminals. And yet, for Fox News, they like to get it reversed.
At least concede that this is a big problem in this country.
We certainly need to make sure that our communities are safe and that if people have committed violent crimes, that they are held accountable for that, including if they've committed violent crimes in the countries that...
Because we run these
ICE
rolls
is lawless
every
in and of
day.
itself.
We run these rolls every day of ICE bringing these people out of the
people.
country who have committed heinous crimes. Last week, there were a number of rapes of a baby, of a 6-year-old. Would these types of things be worthy?
After some research, Minnesota is the 6th biggest human trafficking state in America. Yeah, because we have the Mall of America. The Mall of America is the single biggest trafficking spot in the entire country. Because people from all over the world go there, it's large, and that allows for human trafficking to occur, unfortunately, quite a bit. But yeah, that's the main reason. Minnesota is a main trafficking hub. Really? Yeah. It's one of the reasons you see a lot of police officers in the Mall of America. And also, by the way, if you ever bring your kids to the Mall of America, keep an eye on them. Don't let them just run around willy-nilly. Like, there's a theme park in the middle, but, like, keep an eye on your kids. Yeah, the Mall of America, I know it's not, like, the biggest mall in the world anymore, but, like, it is still a huge tourist destination in Minnesota, and, like, it is used by criminals because of the heavy amount of traffic it gets to hide human trafficking. I mean, where better to hide human trafficking than in a bunch of human traffic?
Of protest.
We need to keep our communities safe, and we need to hold people accountable when they have harmed others, when they have broken the law. But let's be clear, immigration is a civil violation, not a criminal violation. So we need to stop treating the equivalent of a parking ticket like people are breaking the law and need a militarized police force breaking down their doors. So the comparison here is not one of criminality. It is whether we are respecting international law, the right to asylum, the right of respecting refugees' rights. Yeah. These are internationally agreed upon standards that the United States is violating. And I'll be clear, it's been violated.
I love that he's making like a coherent argument, and the Fox host is just like, no. It's like that scene from Get Out. Just no. Like, he's creepy as fuck. Whoever said Grand Moff Tarkin really nailed it. This guy looks like he would press the button to annihilate a planet.
Violated by both administrations of Republicans and Democrats that have really enforced a cruel agency over immigrant detention.
Does Oliver watch you? Probably not. You make that argument too. It's just a good argument to make. And I'm far from the only person who's made it.
Would not say that ICE has done yeoman's work when it comes to getting tens of thousands of violent criminals out of this country. Would you applaud them for that?
No, I would certainly not applaud ICE like Jared Moskowitz and 75 Democrats did, signing a letter of gratitude. I think that ICE should be abolished and that the people at the head of this agency and the people that are shooting people in mass, the ICE agents that are killing.
The criminals should stay. Yeah, they should serve their time for the crime they committed. And then they shouldn't be punished further for that. Serve their time, document them, and just like any other criminal who has served their time, they then get released. Yeah.
People should be prosecuted and held accountable under United States courts of law. Let's be clear about who we're ascribing criminality to, because my concern
is the people who commit the crime.
Oh God, he does look like the evil version of Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who. Oh, that's such a good pull.
Control federal law enforcement agency. But what is the crime? Because again, we're talking about civil violations when it comes to immigration, whether people are overstaying.
Killing Larkin Riley.
Of course, those people should be held accountable.
I love this idea that exists inside the conservative brain that only undocumented immigrants do bad crimes. And it's kind of like, oh, well, okay, but there are people who, rape children and then they're in America already. What happens to them? Well, if they're not wealthy, they get arrested and then they serve their time. They get added to a sex offender registry and then they get released. That's actually how our system works. And if you're wealthy, our system says, "Don't worry, baby girl, we got it. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll look away. You got an island where you're gonna hide children that you're raping. Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. So totally fine. Now you want to become president of the United States? That's okay. We won't even mention it. We won't even mention it." But weirdly enough, Fox News not really talking about the Epstein files anymore. I wonder why.
An agreement on that, and I think your viewers would also. We're in agreement that people should be held accountable for violent crimes, but immigration in and of itself is not a criminal violation. It is a civil violation, and I think that painting a broad brushstroke with a few exceptions is not fair to the immigrants that have come to the United States.
A few exceptions?
Relative to the number of people.
Yes, undocumented immigrants commit fewer crimes proportionally than native-born Americans. Yes, that is statistically true. Undocumented immigrants commit a lower percentage of crime than native-born Americans.
The number of people that have immigrated to the United States, yes,
what is the number?
Immigrants
when
commit fewer crimes than American citizens.
What is the number that you would allow? What is the number that is fine with you? Is there a benchmark? Is it fine?
You can twist this really easily. How much is okay with you? Well, okay, how many crimes does someone have to commit if they're a native-born, American citizen? How many crimes do they have to commit before we strip them of citizenship and send them to a different country? Oh, wait, you can't do that? Oh, wait, that isn't included as a punishment for crimes in America? Wait, you mean that in America you could be a mass murderer and it still wouldn't be stripping you of citizenship and sending you to a different country? Oh, weird. So this is just an additional crime, additional punishment for literally no reason for a crime that is the equivalent of a parking violation. Cool stuff.
How many children can be raped and it's fine if you're in relation to the immigration community?
If we're going to talk about children being raped, then we need to hold this pedophile president, Donald Trump, accountable and all those that have been implicated by the Epstein files that the Department of Justice is still not leaking. They've sent AIPAC.
This fucking ghoul hears we need to hold pedophiles accountable and just gets a big knowing smile on his face.
After Thomas Massey for having the temerity to hold
Larkin,
accountable the pedophiles that are in control of our government.
Thank you. We appreciate your time very much.
They got him off the air so fast. He called Donald Trump a pedophile on Fox News. They yeeted that interview to the moon. All right. And I do have to say, this is why I want to, I do hope that Oliver Larkin continues to run for office, because frankly, if he keeps like batting like this, oh, he's going to be a power player. He's going to be so good, because guess what? This is far from his only appearance on in media, either local or national. I want to direct your attention now to this interview, which is from 2 days ago on the local South Florida news, because oh man, he's great. He's great.
One of South Florida's newly drawn congressional districts is ground zero for this question. Does democratic socialism resonate in South Florida? Primary results in other states reflect increasing support that comes with increasing frustrations over the costs of health care and housing and income disparities. The new District 25 stretches north-south all along South Florida's East Coast communities from Miami.
Holy shit. Holy gerrymandering Christ. Yeah, all right. Just yeah, all the coastal properties. You know, I wonder, gee whiz, I wonder what the average income is of this district.
Beach up to Delray Beach with a couple of jogs inland. The incumbent Congressman Jared Moskowitz, he was with us last week. His primary challenger is Democrat Oliver Larkin, a member of and endorsed by the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. Oliver Larkin is right here at the table live with us today. So nice to have you on the program. Thanks so much for coming in.
Wonderful to be joining you, Glenna.
2 days for some really interesting results that I think a lot of people are watching and going to learn from. I want to start with you, though. You have been in politics a lot, worked for Bernie Sanders, organizer, union organizer. What right now, right here, what do you do for a living?
I'm a digital marketing consultant.
Oh, okay.
I've worked in political marketing and digital advertising with Democratic candidates, campaigns, unions, and I've done that at various agencies over the course of 10 years. In January of 2025, I opened my own LLC and began working for myself, helping candidates locally. And it wasn't before long that a few people approached me about running for this race. So I know advertising, I know return on investment, and I think that's what taxpayers are looking for.
And boy, isn't marketing so much a part of candidacies now,
Sure
always.
is.
So how did you get involved with, you've been a Democrat, how did you get involved with the DSA? Because I don't think the Democrat Socialists of America were as part of the conversation of any campaign that
It is also worth noting here in this particular race that Jared Moskowitz outraised Oliver Larkin by a ratio of 11-1. So when we're talking about these political races, especially when it comes to DSA getting involved, the fundraising is going to be far lower, far lower for the DSA candidate in all cases. But like, you know, you see Angie Nixon and she wiped the floor, right? But in this particular race, in that particular district, which is, you know, higher income and also 25% Jewish, and like, you know, Oliver Larkin is going up against a Jewish member of Congress. Like there is like some demographics at work here where like it is a very uphill battle on top of it already being out, you know, spending, including AIPAC's contributions to Jared Moskowitz, 11-1 fundraising. So like it's not surprising that it worked out in this time against Oliver Larkin, but I hope he continues to run because I think he's great. Yeah, like it's also worth noting that if you called yourself a socialist in anywhere outside of Vermont, really, like even 5 years ago, you'd be getting like, you know, a couple hundred votes. And that's really been changed by Bernie Sanders and like the hard work of DSA, AOC, the squad, etc., doing a lot of work to lift up candidates down ballot. And we're seeing some really great results overall, even 5 years ago. Yeah, even 5 years ago. People forget 5 years ago, we were in Biden. People were still like, Biden is going to bring us back to normalcy. Biden will fix everything. We just need to get back to normal. We can get back to business as usual. We can go back out to brunch as our liberal, predilections are wont to do. But ultimately, what wound up happening is that business as usual failed. And so what wound up happening is that people got disillusioned with business as usual. People found that brunch turned to ash in their mouths, and they got real fucking angry. And when people get real fucking angry, they go looking for answers. They go trying to figure out what they can do to make things better, because people are built to help one another. People are built to come together in times of crisis. And that's exactly what's happening right now. It is what is propelling folks like Angie Nixon across the finish line in these, matchups where it's an impossible amount of fundraising difference, but they still make it up anyway, because people power is what matters in elections. And a lot of people are a lot angrier than they were 5 years ago. And that is, I think, something that is really, really important. I don't like the term brunch lib. Do leftists not do brunch? Leftists love brunch, but the term brunch lib is like specifically a play on out to brunch as like a shorthand term for, people checking out and getting mimosas, getting day drunk. And like that was the plan under Biden, and that did not in fact pan out,
I can remember in my tenure as a reporter. How did you get involved with that?
Yeah, I became a Democrat at 16 when Barack Obama was running for president the first time. I was a high school motor voter, getting my voter registration with my driver's license. But I started identifying with democratic socialism when I began volunteering and then working on Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. And I formally joined the organization in 2020 at the height of a once-in-a-century healthcare pandemic, when I did not see the Democratic Party fighting for Medicare for all, when we were all relying on one another for our collective well-being. I felt that it was important to build a parallel power structure to the Democratic Party that was really more responsive to the needs of ordinary Americans.
And we'll get into all of those kind of issues.
Also worth noting, a significant portion of Oliver Larkin's base in this race came out of the Jewish community organizing to back him. He got the endorsement of Jewish Voice for Peace, and they were doing a lot of work going door to door and like working through the Jewish community to build bridges between his campaign and different members of the community who are not initially oriented to support him. And like this guy spat so hard that he got 36% of the vote tonight. It's no small feat.
I really want to look at D25 right now, brand new district, a pretty split district by design by Florida Republican lawmakers who wanted to make it a bit tougher for incumbent Moskowitz to have a race. And so the word socialism, let's talk about marketing, let's talk about communications. The word socialism in South Florida to many people is just a non-starter. These are people who came from socialistic.
What's great is that this interview happened 2 days ago. And now that we know the results of this election, it's very clearly a starter now for, over a third of the electorate in this district. And you guys saw where the district was. You guys see, like, it's all coastal. It's literally you cannot get more coastal elite than that level of coastal.
Dictatorships who have a first-hand perspective of socialism as a failure. Mm-hmm. How do you speak to these people, many of whom are going to live in this district? This district is heavily Hispanic. Mm-hmm. How do you explain yourself to them?
Yeah, the operative word is democratic, that I want popular collective input over the systems that govern our lives. And I believe in multi-party democracy. I believe in upholding our civil and constitutional rights, which many people fled places like Cuba or Nicaragua, as my wife's parents did back in the 1980s, looking for a better life in the United States of America. And I believe that our policies are actually more supportive of people trying to achieve the American dream, making sure that employer-based health insurance is not an encumbrance to people starting their own small business, their entrepreneurships. And I think that when we look at what the fears of socialism are, we actually see the repression of social and political rights emanating from the Trump administration. And I think what the most popular policies that Democratic socialists are running on, like Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage to a living wage, it really addresses the cost of living concerns that many in South Florida, including our Latino residents, have.
And the devil is in the details and those things. Again, I want to talk about that, but I really worked hard for our interview today to define for myself, what does this mean? Because, you know, I think we try to get out of the political rhetoric and the propaganda. I really want to know factually, what does all of this mean? And you tell me if this is valid.
You know, this interview is really great because I think it starts out being very useful to the folks who watch this particular channel. And then it turns into something that I think, at least in my eyes, you know, I don't live in Florida, obviously, but like, in my eyes, solidifies why this guy needs to run again.
U.S. markets create wealth, and then the government supplies some of the, well, hopefully all of the safety net. In democratic socialism, the market creates wealth, and then taxes and regulation spread it out for everyone's benefit. Does that sound valid to you?
I think that's a fair characterization. I think that we have a system currently with quite low corporate and higher earner income and tax rates. And I want to see us restore much of the mid-20th century top marginal tax rates, making sure that we're closing tax loopholes so that we're actually having equitable payment into the systems that are very popular, like Medicare, like Social Security, but that do not provide the full spectrum of care. So I think that that's an accurate way to represent it.
All right, so let's get into Medicare for all. Everybody needs health care. Not everyone gets the health care they need. That's just a fact.
Like I think he's doing a good job representing socialism as something that is in fact reasonable.
The United States. A function of money is involved in health care. But there's also the pharmaceutical industrial complex. It is a big business. Translate for me a very utopic idea of everybody getting the very best health care they need for free. Not only paying for it, because that's always everyone's question, and that's a big one, but incentivizing the people working in it to be the best doctors, not overwhelmed with the medical needs of people who are so sick. Talk to people who have to pay for the person who smokes and drinks and doesn't eat well and is terribly unhealthy, when the person who's paying for it is very conscious of their health. Take me through those real details of getting to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Like, the reason I like this question, and the reason I like that Oliver Larkin is willing to go not just on friendly media, but to go explicitly into unfriendly areas, is because this particular kind of question, I think is asked from a genuine place by a lot of people, right? Like, the idea that, like, oh, well, you know, if I'm really healthy, why should I pay for the people who make really poor choices and aren't healthy? And, like, the answer to that is very clearly, we live in an interconnected society, and, like, those costs, if you do not get people preventative care, go up. So you wind up paying more as an individual to help your neighbor if you insist on kicking the can down the road. On top of that, for you personally, even if you are making good choices, you're still being fucked over when it comes to healthcare, right? And so, like, well, the thing is, Punky Gal, if somebody's like, it's called empathy, like, that's not a useful response in this case, because the people asking it are essentially going, what's in it for me? And your answer to that can't be develop empathy, because no one's going to do that. Like, you have to point out why it would help them. And I know it seems really frustrating to basically have to point out that, like, we're all connected in a society and that what benefits somebody else actually does benefit you too. But, like, the truth is, you already pay for everyone else's healthcare, you know, if they can't pay for it or if they do pay for it. Like, that's what private health insurance is. You pay into a big pot. It's just that with private health insurance, you have a company skimming off the top, and that's heavily incentivized not to pay out of that pot. You know, like you basically are signing up for multiple levels of bureaucracy and multiple levels of like investor greed that then come in, not just when it comes to the insurance company, but also when it comes to pharmaceuticals, when it comes to hospital bureaucracy, like you can look at, by the way, hospital administration costs over time, and you can literally see like when the cost of healthcare administration became exponentially more than the cost of actually running the hospital itself. It's ridiculous. And not to mention the fact that so many different hospitals across the country are now private and are thus encouraged to cut off care or encouraged to, slight patients or kick them out. Like, it's a whole lot of scumfuckery, and the door is open to that by the private healthcare industry. And one of the ways we can close the door to every single person in this country being screwed over by healthcare is we get everyone on the same plan and have the government collectively negotiate on our behalf for lower prices. That's way more effective than literally anything else that happens right now. And you then also cut down on duplicative bureaucracy, on advertising, etc. Like it's you cut out investors. It's genuinely just a much better, more efficient way of doing this. And ultimately what winds up happening is that everybody pays less for healthcare. Everybody pays less. And everyone is healthier. So like,
I think when we look at insurance pools as a whole, it's having the broadest possible risk pool, the same way that when we look at the
yeah, I mean, he just said it very succinctly, but yeah.
Fragmentation of the property insurance market in Florida and these sky-high rates that people are dealing with, we're suffering from the same issue with the healthcare marketplace currently, where there's what we hear is that we want competition. But
well, yeah, and that's another really great point, Amber Brains, which is that the idea of like, well, other people should just make better choices. Like, not everyone can choose not to be disabled. Not everyone can choose not to be poor. Not everyone can choose to not live in a food desert. You're absolutely right. And ultimately the mentality and the extrapolation of why should I pay for other people's healthcare directly leads to people who are in like hard economic conditions, hard, geographic conditions, difficult health situations. Like, what ultimately winds up happening is that those people just die. And like, if you're sick of hearing conservatives complaining about like people having to defecate on the street because there aren't any public bathrooms, without pointing out that there aren't any public bathrooms, then you're going to be absolutely sick to death of them talking about how the rich have to step over the bodies of the poor in the gutter if Republicans had their way and kicked so many people off of health insurance. Like, the Republican strategy when it comes to healthcare is just let the poor and the elderly die. That's it. Like it's just straight up, anyone who's not strong enough to live or rich enough to live just should die. That is the end result of what Republicans propose for healthcare.
What that really means is that there are a few private health insurance industries that really have a monopoly over the marketplace and are able to charge whatever they want, not just to consumers, or people in need of healthcare, but to hospitals, also, to the...
Can we get a mod in Twitch chat? Largely, I just want to make sure we got one in there because my Twitch chat is on the fritz, so I can't keep a great eye on it at the moment.
Places that need to reimburse for these costs. So what I would like to see in the United States, which is the wealthiest nation on earth, not to guarantee healthcare is a right, and we pay twice as much per capita as other peer nations with similar incomes with worse outcomes. So I want to see us make sure that Medicare is expanded to cover everyone, expanded and improved, including coverage for vision, hearing, mental health care, reproductive health care. And
you want to see that, but that's a wholesale change. Does that, practically speaking, do you see that as a possibility in the way you're speaking about it?
I do. The phase-in of a Medicare for All system would lower the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 55 to 45 until it eventually, within a few years, covers everyone. This is actually a more cost-effective way of delivering health care for people because we wouldn't have premiums, deductibles, co-payments, or out-of-pocket costs, and the enormous
Like, imagine how great that would be. Imagine how incredible. You don't have a premium anymore. You don't have a deductible you have to meet anymore. Like, you just go to the doctor and you don't get hit with like a surprise, $5,000 bill because they had to take x-rays. You just, all you have to do, like, oh, you need your tonsils out. Guess what? It doesn't cost you 10 grand. Like, that's wonderful. That's incredible. Like, it can be so much better than what it is right now. You would no longer have people dying in Ubers because they can't afford the ambulance ride to the hospital. I think people forget exactly what happens if you have no money in this country, which is that, like, if you have no money, like, you get scared to go to the doctor. You get scared to get that preventative care. You get scared to call an ambulance if you're having a heart attack. People die.
Administrative costs that healthcare providers, that doctors and nurses spend so much time getting claims covered or going back and forth with the insurance paperwork that takes away from their.
Yeah, exactly, Quiet Kitsune. The hospital you went to was in network, as was the surgeon, but the anesthesiologist, out of network. Sorry.
Actual capacity to deliver this care.
Talk to me about ICE. You've said you want to defund ICE.
Hell yeah.
ICE right now in the news for things that go wrong. However, immigration and customs enforcement is a critical part of the nation's security. Defunding ICE and replacing that with what?
We had a system of immigration enforcement prior to 2003 with the establishment of DHS and ICE being created. The United States was able to function for well over 2 centuries with a more civil administration over the immigration system.
Okay, let me just stop you there. So you're not, is it defunding that you want to do, or just revolving back to a pre-President Trump policy?
I want to abolish ICE. I do not think that a militarized immigration enforcement agency is necessary when there are violations of the immigration policy of this country. These are civil violations. They're not criminal. And
oof. John Smith writes, my dad had a minor heart attack a couple years ago. He wouldn't call 911. Somebody else did. $70,000 in bills. Jesus. Also, it's worth remembering that the US government could just buy all medical debt, buy all of it for pennies on the dollar, and just get rid of it, rip it up. You could have a budget item in like the next fiscal year passed through Congress where they're just like, we are going to buy all medical debt using these government funds, and we're going to rip it all up. There's no reason for people to be doing this. There are trillions of dollars right now in medical debt, is my understanding, and you could buy it for like a couple $1 billion and then just rip it up. Nobody has any more medical debt. It's crazy. John Oliver did that some years ago. Yeah. It's a great initiative.
They don't need criminal enforcement or militarized enforcement. What I would like to see is a system with much more capacity for immigration courts to adjudicate and process asylum claims and process people to make sure that there is documentation. I want to have a safe and secure border. That means a humane border where people are not risking their lives to come to the United States of America. I want to make sure that people, when they come into the United States, they're duly processed and they receive their paperwork so that they're able to pay and contribute to society and really achieve the American dream. We know that immigrants are more predisposed to...
I do want to point out that what I just put forward was the government doing this, but if any like billionaires ever wanted to purchase goodwill, like genuinely, like one of the things I don't understand, right, is that you get like billionaires that want to try and run for president of the United States. You know, you got JB Pritzker over here. If JB Pritzker wanted to solidify and get like a 100% chance of victory in the election, he could just use his wealth, liquidate a whole mess of it. Wouldn't even have to be all of it, and to like practically eliminate medical debt in America. Like the amount of goodwill that would buy you is astronomical. Buying medical debt doesn't really fix anything, though. It absolutely does. When you buy the debt, you can simply rip up the debt. It tangibly means that the people who owe that money don't have to pay it. It is a band. Yes, it's a band-aid solution, of course. But right now, we don't have a band-aid. We just have a gushing
Everyone
wound.
already bears the cost of health care, because all problems eventually become emergency care.
God!
Giving people insurance so routine doesn't become emergency keeps cost and strain on the system.
I understand that it's not a systemic solution to the systemic problem. I'm just pointing out that it is a massive weight on top of the people who are currently owing hundreds of thousands of dollars to a medical system that will keep them permanently enslaved. Like, that's what I'm trying to point out. And like, sure, it doesn't solve the problem of accruing medical debt across the board, but what it does do is it helps people in the immediate sense. And what I'm talking about is some billionaire just deciding to liquidate his money to buy goodwill if they wanted to run for president. I'm not talking about how this would actually fix the system, because it wouldn't. What I am saying is that if we have to have an interim period where, you know, Medicare for All needs to kick in over 5 years or so, you could just pass the U.S. government buying that medical debt, ripping it up, and then you can start with just a much smaller amount of money. And as that gets rolled out, the systemic solution can also get rolled out. I'm just talking about how a good thing could be made slightly better and slightly less awful in a more immediate sense than like the long-term goal of getting Medicare for all and permanently fixing the problem. Like, I don't want the idea that we can make things better now to be at odds with the idea that we can fix the systemic issue in the future. You know? Like, oh God. I don't think buying billionaires' money, fuck guys. Fuck. Are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? Like, I'm actually baffled. I'm actually baffled. Right? I'm baffled by this because the idea that like, oh, what, billionaires could use their money to do something good? Yes! Rich people could use their money to do something good. I would very much like it if rich people use their money to do good things instead of evil things. I still want to tax them more, but like, there's a big difference between billionaires using their money to actively harm people and kill millions across the globe, like what Elon Musk did, and a big difference between that and like a billionaire saying, hey, I don't need billions of dollars. What if I just liquidated this money and instead bought all the medical debt and ripped it up? Like, that's a lot better than what they're currently doing with their billions of dollars. Anyone could do anything doesn't mean they're going to. Fuck. Guys. I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, Oh my god, altruistically, but not for person. I'm gonna lose it.
Chat, you can't get the car to the mechanic to fix the engine if don't patch the tire. That's what's being said.
I'm also saying, like, what if instead of like a gremlin destroying the engine of the
If there's a
car,
jigsaw torture device crushing your genitals, releasing your genitals from the machine doesn't break the machine, but it takes away the pain that keeps you from destroying the machine.
yeah, Pluvius, I think that's I'm just, oh my god. It takes away the pain that keeps you from destroying the machine. Yes. I'm sorry. I guess I'm very sorry that I suggested how people could use money to do good things instead of doing actively bad things. Like, it's incredible. But you said it would be done to give the billionaire a chance to win an election. Yeah, if J.B. Pritzker threw his hat in the race and ended medical debt, ripped up trillions of dollars worth of medical debt, he would be like, I'm not saying that would be a wonderful thing. I don't want J.B. Pritzker to be the next US president, but I am saying that there was a reason rich people built libraries and schools and like cool shit that actually helped people, hospitals, etc. And it's because they wanted people to not rip them apart and they wanted to be remembered fondly. The billionaire class we have right now is actively trying to murder as many people as possible. And I'm not saying that this should be a good thing to like save billionaires. I'm just saying, like, if one was a billionaire and wanted to perpetuate their influence, I can think of like not that many ways that a billionaire could do that, but buying up the entire US medical debt and ripping it up would be a good thing to do. And if a billionaire doesn't do that, the US government should do that. And then we should get on track with fixing the systemic issue. I guess what I'm saying is that it's really weird to me that billionaires stopped trying to do that, stopped having that noblesse oblige. And like, but what's baffling to me is this idea that like, oh, well, rich people should just kill people. Like, no, you guys don't seem to understand. I want class traders. I want wealthy class traders. I want that. There should be more wealthy class traders. I support that. You all should support that too. Wealthy class traders are great. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think that a billionaire doing that would stop us from getting Medicare for all. But like, I'm real frustrated. It kind of feels like we're arguing for misery forever. I get what you're saying. I hope so. Like, I hope so. Also, let me just double check this here. All right. Yeah. So the estimated cost to buy the entirety of US medical debt is around $2 billion. J.B. Pritzker has a net worth of like $3.7 billion. I'm just saying, like, he would still be a billionaire even if he decided to end U.S. medical debt. That's it? That's it. I'm simply pointing out that this is nothing. This is nothing. That doesn't seem an unmanageable sum. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess the entirety of U.S. medical debt at the moment is around $220 billion for about 14 million people in the U.S. population. The cost of buying that for pennies on the dollar works out to around, and depending on the market, like $2 billion to $4 billion.
It's so easy for people to sit there and imagine a Batman, Green Arrow, or Iron Man, but then when the person who has money and gives up most of their riches to the common man doesn't have weapons.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just I guess what I'm trying to put out there is that I think it would be a universally acknowledged good thing for someone to give up their billionaire status to buy all US medical debt and then rip it up. It'd basically be immolating an entire fortune for the benefit of the entire country. And like, I think that would be a good thing. And if they don't do it, if an individual doesn't step up to do it, then the country should do it. But like, it seems like they're, with the position we are in politically, that maybe some self-interested class traders might want to get in on that. But let's move on.
Entrepreneurship to small business ownership. They pay taxes into systems they don't always have the eligibility to receive the benefits from. So we need immigrants in our society. And I think that if we have a more holistic and humane approach to immigration enforcement, I think that's going to be to the betterment of not just those of us in South Florida, but across the country.
Another big issue that's going to be in 25, where I think the statistic is 1 in 4 voters in D25 is Jewish. You have said you want to essentially defund Israel. Israel, one of many countries that the U.S. contributes to. How are you going to explain to your Jewish voters that you would like to essentially put Israel in an existential threat?
I look at this as making sure that we actually practice democracy abroad as well as at home. And when the nation-state law in Israel was passed in, I believe, 2018, that created a much more tiered system of citizenship that...
I mean, okay, look, let me just tackle this real quick. You all realize Marx and Engels, came up with the Communist Manifesto? Marx and Engels? You all know Engels was a wealthy man, right? Like, his family owned factories and shit. He bankrolled Marx for his work. So, like, when I talk about wanting class traders, that does happen. It specifically happened when we talk about Karl Marx and communism and socialism, all that shit. It specifically is a product of a class trader coming together with someone who wanted to articulate the dynamics of class.
I think people forget that Engels was a class trader.
Yes.
Many movements or beliefs or concepts needed class traders. Engels was born wealth. Oh, Jack beat me to it as I was typing it.
Dolly Parton might be considered a class trader. Fingers crossed. But like, I'm just saying, it is good when rich people betray their class interests in favor of working class interests. That is a good thing. It is always a good thing for the rich to betray their own interests and further the interests of the working class. So I want to try. I'm trying to articulate the bare bones version of my point because I think there's some stuff getting mixed up here.
Privileges Jewish citizens above Palestinians. I don't believe it is in the United States' interest to support that. And we've also got our own laws on the books, the Leahy laws that prohibit the military funding from the Department of Defense and Department of State from providing.
This is where it's about to get real. So tune in.
Let me just stop you for 1 second. That actually is factually incorrect. There was not a Palestinian state in 18. What I want to talk about is the here and now of the state of Israel exists in 1948, which actually was supposed to be a two-state solution and then rejected by the Arab states. But here and now, a large chunk of the funding that goes to Israel is defensive funding for Iron Dome, or rather defensive, and then military funding greatly increased after the October 7th massacre.
I do love that she's like, that's actually not accurate. There wasn't a Palestinian state in 1918. And it's like, I mean, if okay, yeah, it wasn't the state, it was a British territory after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Like, it wasn't technically a state because it was occupied by the British military. It's just like it was a territory to a degree autonomous. Like Palestinians live there. Like what are you talking about? Ugh.
So I guess my question to you is, taking away Israel's money, which actually is a much more complicated equation.
You're taking away Israel's money. It's our money. What do you mean? We're taking away Israel's money. It's ours. We can decide not to give it to Israel. That's like saying, well, my mom gives me $50 on my birthday.
One last one. Mamdani could be a very cushy, comfy boy who does not need to be in the politic he's in because of what his parents are. Instead, he's a Demsic working for the people of NYC. Cough.
True.
Cough.
True. But it's like saying my mom gives me $50 on my birthday. So, really when you think about it, before my mom gives me that $50, it's really my $50. Like, that's just not how that works at all.
Because Israeli tech and the economic benefits that come back to the U.S. for job creation is all part and parcel of that, which not a lot of people talk about. But taking away a defensive mechanism for a state which has an existential threat all around it, stated by the terrorists who want to annihilate it, you're essentially taking away defense. And I think that's a very important thing for viewers in your district, because that's what they want to hear you talk about. Why?
Israel is committing a genocide in
That's
Gaza.
incorrect. That is factually incorrect.
It is.
That is factually incorrect. This lady is super Hasbara. I mean, yeah, to say the least. Like, it's genuinely like, it's gross.
Regarded by the United Nations and Amnesty International and even Israeli human rights organizations, including B'Tselem. There's
the definition of genocide in the UN has said this, does not apply to what many people might think as a disproportionate wartime action. That's what that is in many people's minds. Genocide is a very specific thing, actually genocide being committed against Jewish people, not by Israel. And that's just a fact.
I mean, the United Nations.
Just as an FYI, this is from June. Israel continues to commit genocide, atrocity crimes by deliberately targeting Palestinian children, UN Independent Commission finds. The evidence shows that Palestinian children have been deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli security forces, said Srinivasana Muralidhar, chair of the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory, including East Jerusalem and Israel. The report refers to the period following Hamas's invasion of Israel in late 2023, which resulted in 1,200 deaths and 250 taken hostage, and the subsequent war Israel waged against Gaza that has to date killed more than 70,000 Palestinians in the besieged and occupied territory. Even after the October 2025 ceasefire, children continue to be killed and seriously injured, with continued disregard by Israel for the ceasefire and for the protection owed to Palestinian children under international law. And Israel has killed 20,000 children and injured 44,000 more since October 7th, 2023. Because it's a systemic annihilation of the future of the Palestinian people, their very children. But, she can continue to lie and say that the UN has said it does not meet the definition of genocide, but that's just not accurate. Here is the UN Human Rights Council actually putting this forward. Let me pull this up here.
The Commission found indisputable evidence with regards to the deliberate, targeted killing of Palestinian children, including since the October 2025 ceasefire, the use of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, including use of sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian children, as well as targeting of critical infrastructure essential to children such as orphanages, healthcare, and educational facilities. There has been a widespread and systematic killing and harming of children between 7th October 2023 and 7th October 2025. We have witnessed more than 20,000 children who've been killed and more than 44,000 children who've been injured. Children constitute 30% of all those killed in OPT, and the killing and injuring of children has been a continuing activity.
Cool stuff. Love how this lady keeps saying it's not a genocide, it's not a genocide, it's not a genocide. Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Very much appreciated. Yeah, it's horrific. It's horrific what they're doing. Yeah, genetic memory farms. I really appreciate this chat's ability to talk with folks. Because I don't insist on people having ideological conformity. My main thing is I struggle to articulate. This is something that I struggle with day to day, just talking with other people too. It's not unique to my experience talking to all of you. But I really appreciate that y'all take the time to try and figure out where each of you are coming from before you try and leap down each other's throats. For me, I struggle the most when I say one thing with a certain intent, but people then read into what I meant in a way I did not intend. So I try to get more precise with my language, and sometimes that can be really difficult for me. But I appreciate all of you kind of jumping into that same mentality of just struggling to both understand and be understood. I think that is a good mentality to have. Let's jump back into this, though.
Recently in Geneva found that the IDF had deliberately targeted women and children. There's been famine conditions imposed over the Gaza Strip by the blockading of aid entering the Strip. There's been indiscriminate bombing of hospitals, of mosques, of churches.
Again, I'm going to have to stop you, as that is factually not correct. But I hear you talking about something very important to.
There's been indiscriminate bombing of hospitals, mosques, churches, orphanages, etc. That's documented fact. We literally have videos of it happening over and over and over again, even after a ceasefire.
not correct. But I hear you talking about something very important to a lot of people, and certainly who think that way. But as a congressman, and I'm being told we have to wrap. But as a congressman for District 25, I'm hoping your viewers will be able to hear you flesh that out a little more, as well as the Medicare for All.
No. We have to wrap this up. You keep talking. You keep calling it a genocide. We got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up. we gotta wrap it up, folks. God. I think this is great. Worth noting, by the way, that let's see here.
Is that Florida?
All right, nailed it. Worth noting, again, he did not win his election tonight in the primary, which is very, very sad. But he absolutely needs to run again. I absolutely believe that this man has the juice to make it to Congress. Maybe not this time, but if we actually get people into office in 2026 who can put a stop to this madness and show like what effective and capable members of Congress who are not bought can do, I think he has a shot. Maybe not in this particular district, but maybe in a different one. And also, I do think that I know for a long time people have been like, we got to write off Florida. We got to write off Florida. But I guess I'm here to just say, I think that there is a movement brewing in Florida right now. There is one brewing that I think is going to be in the future capable of making some pretty big changes. You know, when I see a race like Angie Nixon's, a statewide race, where you have someone with $60,000 in the bank being, you know, like just crushing somebody who had millions of dollars in the bank, I find that fascinating. Like, look at where this message resonated across the state. And like, when we look at the different figures in Florida who are on the rise, who are doing great work, you know, Oliver Larkin isn't alone. Angie Nixon isn't alone. You know, there are all kinds of great people working hard every single day in Florida. And I do think that there is a real possibility of something great happening. I want to indicate for you guys to pay attention, by the way, to one Representative Anna Escamani, who is, I believe, running for Orlando mayor after winning a state house seat. But she's been doing really great work on the ground for years now and has been building up a mechanism that I think is, again, is indicative of kind of what's happening everywhere in Florida. And I think that there is going to be a reckoning with the deep conservatism that has taken hold of the state. And I think that reckoning is not far off. You know, I look forward to see how 2026 turns out. Hopefully we can put the brakes on this fascism. But then I'm very interested to see what happens in 2028 and beyond, because I don't know. I'm shocked that Angie Nixon won. I think that it's incredible. I think that it's wonderful. I think it's great that Oliver Larkin overperformed expectations. Sad he didn't win, but like it's still an overperformance. And so I guess I'm just here to say, like, don't give up. Never, ever, ever, ever give up. Because you can go out there and you can make a difference. Doesn't matter if you've got no money going up against all the money in the world, because money doesn't win elections, people do. And that is really the heart of why we need to protect our democratic systems. We need to, in fact, protect those systems and get money and moneyed influence all the way out. So, all that being said, folks, if you want to be part of making this country better, of fixing things, of keeping our democracy safe, of making things materially better, if you want to help out with the Nixon campaign or get the next Oliver Larkin through the primary process, join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. We need folks on the ground to organize. We need you to actually show up and organize, because that is what makes the difference. Okay? So if you need help taking your first steps to join either of those orgs and turn out to the organizing meetings, we can help you do that. Join our Discord. Reach out to GamerG for help organizing with your local DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help organizing with your local Dems. And folks, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and consider supporting the show if you're at all able financially. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy, non-tucking lingerie. Go check it out. And with that being said, let's keep on going. Okay. I'm trying to click the button that's over on the YouTube stream, since my Twitch streamer activity manager is absolutely borked right now for God knows why. Now I do want to say I had to turn off alerts because they were going to be blasting through the end of that segment, but let me turn that back on. There we go. Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Marmot King 666, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. And Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you again for the $10 super chat. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, who the bleep is this woman? I am enraged by her utter lies. Local Florida news hosts. They be wildin'. They be going crazy. All right. Go. You guys ready to talk about Iran? Baby. Wait a minute. How long have we been going? We've been going for about 2 hours, folks. If you've been enjoying the show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and do consider financially supporting the show if you're at all able, because you guys make this show possible. Appreciate
Everyone,
each and every
did
one
you
of you.
exercise today? The fascists did. Why haven't you?
Hell
Keep
yeah.
up the fight. Don't doom. Choose to bloom instead.
Hell yeah, Uncle Simric. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Folks, click the goddamn button. And also, I just want to say, when I do get loud at chat, I'm not, I don't hold a grudge. I know we're usually just getting over some point of, not understanding one another, talking past one another, or whatever. So no hard feelings, folks. At least on my end. And Uncle Simric, again, thank you for the $10 super chat, and click the goddamn button. Go. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Jazz Dog, you can do both. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. It's not an either or. You can be in DSA and do preview stuff. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. Click the goddamn button. Click 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 button. Let's see how we doing. Ooh, guys. We have over 400 people watching in the YouTube chat, and we have 171 likes. You guys can do better than that. I believe in your ability to hit the like button, YouTube chat. I believe in your ability to hit the subscribe button and throw donos my way. I believe. Also, Sneaky Psyducks, Perpy Rock, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you over on Twitch. Let's go! Oof. But the button is hard. The button is so hard on my delicate finger. God. Alright. Okay, folks. I saw someone ask me how long until a mutiny on an aircraft carrier, and let's get to it. Alright.
Not to glaze, but you are an incredibly impressive person, and I
thank
really
you.
appreciate everything you do. # Team Platonic Girl Crush.
Speaker Squeakers, thank you for the $20 super chat, and I do appreciate the glaze. I'm not gonna lie, I do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Just chew us out. Oh, okay, some of you are getting a little bit too into me yelling at you. What I miss in the world today? Let's talk about Iran! It's time for us to go around the world. Glad to see Angie Nixon winning the primary in Florida. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Egramuglia, folks, go check them out. We talked about Angie Nixon's stunning upset in Florida. She has beaten her opponent in a statewide special election race in Florida by like 100-some thousand votes, despite being outraised 36 times over by the establishment candidate in the primary. And then we talked about Oliver Larkin because he's cool and I hope he runs for office again, even though he lost. All right, folks. Let's see. Let's see here. Ooh. There we go. Let me make sure this is all set up. Okay. Y'all ready? Here we go, folks. So, folks, we gotta talk about Iran. I know we keep talking about it. I know that, like, we're gonna have to keep talking about it for some time, but I do want to say right at the top, the United States is not winning this war with Iran. It was a stupid decision for Trump to make in the first place. That stupidity is continuing to play out on a global scale. It is affecting everyone economically. It is affecting the United States, but other places on Earth are getting affected even more by the increase in prices. Um, Not to mention the fact that there are current ecological disasters spreading. Notably, a ship ran aground after being hit with an explosion, and has been leaking oil into the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman. And that is a colossal ecological disaster because no one can get in there to free the ship or patch it up or, you know, stop the leakage. And on top of that, you have all of this being done unilaterally by perhaps the world's dumbest and most unstable man, not unstable. Um, it's bad. It's bad. Like, everything he is doing right now is nonsensical and is largely comes from a position of he has no idea what he's doing. He's desperate, he's scared, he's worried, and ultimately he doesn't care that much. It's all kind of abstract to him. Let me just pull this up here. Yeah, here we go. This. Perfect. Cool. And we also need, before we jump into this fully, to talk about the idea here that he's not only isolated from the economic consequences, of course, but he's also been isolated thus far from the political consequences. Despite the fact that this war is so unpopular, it has now driven his approval rating below 35%. I believe Reuters did a poll recently that had him hitting 33%. He's lost basically all support among independents. It's a complete collapse. And it is truly only going to get worse from here because, again, there's no way out without admitting defeat. There's no graceful exit strategy here. And it is getting worse by the day because he's elderly as hell and can't shut his mouth. And so it leads to moments like this on local news.
Gas pump, but we're still seeing higher prices than we did last week. The Michigan State averaged 12 cents higher than what we paid this time last week. Drivers are now paying an average of $4.25 a gallon on that's for regular unleaded gas, $1.13 more than this time last year. The spike comes on the heels of President Trump saying he's unapologetic about higher prices at the pump.
For you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember, you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'll never apologize. I did the right thing.
The spike in Michigan's average price at the pump now surpassing the national average of $4.07 a gallon.
What's fascinating to me about all this, right, is that he's just like, yeah, who gives a shit? You have to pay $4, whatever. I wipe my ass with $4. Like, to him, it's not real money, And when you get stuff like that on your local news, that's infuriating to average people. And this is taking a toll on his Republican support, too. Republican support is cratering as well, which, it doesn't hit like, oh, only 50% of Republicans like him, but it does mean that his approval among Republicans has dropped into like the 70s, which is, I want to be very clear here, devastating politically. And eventually there is going to hit a point, if this continues, where there are political consequences. I don't know exactly yet what that number is. I suspect it's somewhere with Republican support dropping into the 60s or even the 50s. But we are kind of on the verge of seeing that kind of cratering happen. And part of why I say that is because we're in this intractable, unwinnable situation. You know, you've got the USS Lincoln. People are like, oh, well, the Lincoln has a terrible situation on board. You know, they're doing all this. They're
It's
those
just
poor
gasoline.
troops.
How much could it cost? $40?
I mean, he's literally Lucille Bluthing the entire country right now. But then you have like the situation in our military where like they're losing mail. This is an underreported story, but like the USS Lincoln has had reports of mail going missing, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you've been deployed on a ship and like that mail is like the only way you're connected to your home, one of the few ways you're connected with your loved ones, turns out that mail is pretty important. Not to mention the fact that it looks like they've been on half rations for some time. It looks like their plumbing is all out of whack. They have a foot of feces on the floor of their bathrooms, allegedly. And like, mail doesn't go missing, they withhold it. No, it's going missing. And I want to say that it's going missing, and all of these problems are directly related to the fact that the Iran war is worse than what the Pentagon is telling us. All right? Yeah, the supply chain is absolutely borked. Which is why I gotta be honest, one of the most insane things to come out of this is that one of the solutions that Donald Trump has been trial ballooning on Truth Social with, AI generated memes is that he wants to declare the Strait of Hormuz a U.S. territory, which, for a whole host of reasons, isn't something you can do. Like, you can't do this under international law. You can't do this under UN Charter. You cannot do this and annex territory, or whether it's waterway or land, you can't do that. And also, that's before we even get to the logistical concerns with how impossible such an act would be. Because if you'll notice here, to seize the Strait of Hormuz, one would have to, take land. And this big circle you might notice here is actually not mostly over Iran. It's actually over parts of Oman and the United Arab Emirates. So unless he's planning to, I don't know, bomb Oman, then that's just a non-starter. I mean, he wouldn't do that, right? He wouldn't just bomb an ally of the United States for no reason, right? Oh, wait. Trump threatens to bomb Oman if it gets in the way of Iran conflict. I can't stress this enough. This is insane. Logistically, it's impossible as well, right? It is an impossible ask for the United States to seize this. I'm not saying it'd be impossible if the United States was mobilized for, total war. But, we're not. And also, we're not going to for a conflict declared unilaterally by the US president, right? On top of that, we have to look at why things are fucked up on the USS Lincoln, as well as other ships in the area. And I think this map provided by USA Today gets at the issue here, right? Which is, previously, the USS Lincoln was resupplied from the Gulf of the Bahrain NSA port, which is, again, 870 miles away, but that logistical line is a lot shorter. However, because the Iran war is far worse than what the Pentagon and the United States has been putting out there, that particular logistical supply line is basically done. And so they had to switch to resupply from the Diego Garcia Isle to the Gulf of Oman, which is, you know, almost 3 times as far away. And that, it turns out, causes a whole host of logistical problems when you want to suddenly shift the logistical supply line to about 3 times as far away, because that means you need more fuel to do the supply lines, you need more personnel to keep it all up, you need to do all kinds of stuff, because you also have to move all of the resupply lines that go to Diego Garcia in order to resupply this fleet that is just hanging out in the Gulf of Oman. Now, the reason this is kind of stunning, right? And the reason this fuck up is legendary is because the reason the United States military has historically been powerful is not just because of like better technology, and that edge has certainly been dulled over the course of time because our military industrial complex likes to suck all of the money out of our tax dollars and, you know, not provide anything because that maximizes their profits. But setting that aside, the main thing that has made the United States so powerful is our ability to leverage our logistical supply lines to deploy anywhere and everywhere, no matter what. And the fact that things have broken down this far when it comes to resupplying the USS Lincoln, like one of the flagships of the US Navy, is a big problem. It's a big problem. Like, we're currently struggling to field multiple aircraft carriers at once. That's a dumpster fire. Like, that is a colossal systemic failure in the US military. And so when Donald Trump goes out there, or, you know, Pete Hegseth, and they're like, we can do this indefinitely. Like, we can't even do it. We can't even definitely do it right now. You have allegations of shit flooding our flagship. Literal shit flooding the flagship. And like, this is like, we have lost, and these situations are only going to get worse from here on out because Iran actually has the ability to bite back. They have the ability to fire more missiles. They have the ability to fire more drones, which, by the way, they've been doing. And part of the problem with this is that US dominance in this region of the world has been predicated on basically going to places like Saudi Arabia and saying, hey, don't worry, we got you. Buy our US-made military equipment, and our incredible logistical supply lines will keep them well supplied. You'll have more anti-aircraft, air interceptors than you'll know what to do with. And you won't have to worry about any kind of aggression from any of your nearby allies. And what we're now seeing is that those supply lines, those logistical supply lines, have broken down to such an extent that we lack the capacity to manufacture interceptors for our allies, let alone for ourselves. And this in turn is leading to a massive problem because Iran still has the ability to fire cheap missiles and drones at places like Saudi Arabia. And in fact, they did that earlier today, I believe. Yeah. Or sorry, the United Arab Emirates said it detected 2 ballistic missiles launched toward the country from Iran. And like, that doesn't sound like a lot, 2 missiles. But if the UAE is using their interceptors to try and shoot down those missiles, Iran recognizes they're in a war of attrition. All they have to do is burn through the supply of missiles, the supply of interceptors that the US military has. And, well, it turns out when you elect social media president and have social media president put in social media head of the Pentagon, turns out they just go through arms and ammunition like it's nothing. this piece from Zateo is incredible. Apparently, Zateo is reporting that 90% of long-range missiles in the U.S. stockpile have been burned in the Iran war. Like, we lack the capacity to really wage this war long term. Like, I know Pete Hegseth has been talking nonstop. Oh, we can do this indefinitely. We can do this indefinitely. We can do this indefinitely. We can't. We don't have the manufacturing capacity to make missiles fast enough to resupply this. We don't have the manufacturing capacity to make interceptors fast enough to replace what we've used. And so when we talk about this, it's actually worse, right? It's actually worse. So just to read this, however terribly you think the Iran war is going for Donald Trump, the reality is almost certainly worse. The worse it gets, the more the White House tries to cover up and hide the damage from the American people, and the more the president uses the Justice Department to threaten media outlets that expose the sheer tonnage of the damage. President Trump won't even be straight with the country about how he's running out of weapons, when his war has depleted well upwards of 90% of certain crucial munitions, as Zateo has learned. When reporters have dug into the topic, he's huffily accused them of treason and pledged that those responsible for leaking the information are being hunted down aggressively. I mean, it's truly bad. And that leads me to, well, I don't know how this plays out. Because what it kind of seems like is Donald Trump is being pushed into a corner here. And I guess part of what I'm worried about here is that there is a non-zero possibility that Donald Trump feels cornered, loses capacity to just impotently bomb Iran and tell the press, "Oh, don't worry, we got him," and feels like out of political necessity he needs to do something unprecedented. And it worries me that one of those things that appears to be on the table, at least according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, is that Trump is apparently discussing using nuclear weapons. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. It comes from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But if this is true, like, God, this would be devastating. It'd be devastating in every conceivable way. It would be devastating when it comes to, of course, the people of Iran. It would be devastating to the global economy. It would almost certainly result in the United States becoming a pariah state overnight. It would be devastating. Life as you know it in America would change, right? And I again, take it with a grain of salt. It is coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene, but like, this is the president who is apparently right now trying to get the Pentagon to redesign all of its future aircraft carriers so that they look more like the ones that were used during World War II. And I wish I was kidding, but this piece from the Washington Post a couple days ago is exactly what it sounds like. The president wants the new fleet of aircraft carriers to more closely resemble those from World War II. The change could cost billions. What is the change that he wants? Well, he doesn't like the electromagnetic catapults that they designed, and he wants them to go back to using steam the old-fashioned way. And also, you might notice here that in this picture of a United States aircraft carrier, the tower is towards the back of the aircraft carrier. During World War II, the tower was in the middle of the aircraft carrier. And he wants to move where the tower would be in order to make it look cooler, essentially. And the reason the tower is in the back of the ship is for a few reasons, right? One is that it makes it more defensible. Two, it makes it easier to store aircraft, so you can have more aircraft on the aircraft carrier. And it's just for a wide variety of reasons. When you design essentially a floating city, which is what an aircraft carrier is, every design decision is made intentionally. And when you have a dipshit president look at pictures or renderings of one and say, move the tower so it's in the middle, you are calling for a complete redesign of the aircraft carrier. Now, all of this being said, you might be wondering, okay, but like, is it really just because it looks cool? Is it really just because it looks cool? Let me pull this up. Do-do. Do. There is specifically a theory going around that he watched a movie. I'm trying to find the specific movie. Ba, ba, ba. It's from the 1950s. God. Midway? It might have been Midway. But basically people are like, he went to the movie theater as a kid, saw these movies, and became obsessed with recreating the visuals of those films. Like it's truly stupid. It's truly stupid. There's just no getting around it. And like a guy who's trying to redesign aircraft carriers on a whim because he wants to make them look like World War II planes. Like, guys, he's crazy. He's crazy. He's a crazy person. And like, a crazy person would absolutely press that big red button if they were backed into a corner. And like, that's I guess really my main concern right now is both global economic collapse because of this ongoing pointless conflict, and also Donald Trump in his dementia-addled state deciding he needs to launch a nuclear weapon on Iran to stop them from having nukes, because if they got nukes, they might nuke another country, and that'd be very irresponsible. It's awful. It's awful. Oh, that's also a good point, Paladin. One of the biggest advantages of the tower on the back is that if a plane comes in with a landing gear damaged, it isn't going to like run into the tower. 100%.
Donald Trump furious when told by aide that he cannot spend trillions making his destroyer fleet look like Star Destroyers from Star Wars.
Unironically, like, I am half expecting, like, next year to hear Donald Trump had plans to build the Death Star, you know? Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. That being said, talking about Trump aides, I do plan on talking about the whole controversy with his, 30-something-year-old aide who's
As a machinist
insane.
who works for a DoD contractor that makes flying explodey things, can confirm that there's zero chance we can resupply fast.
Yep.
Without World War II wartime conditions, it takes several years to stand up a new factory.
Yeah, and my understanding is that, like, I don't know what exactly goes on inside the military-industrial complex manufacturing, right? But, like, my understanding is that we could, under, like, wartime conditions, like actual wartime conditions, rev up our industrial base to be producing a lot more than we do right now. But we, like, our defense contractors deliberately slow down production or create convoluted, inefficient production lines, specifically because it maximizes the amount of money they make off of government contracts. I mean, like, we talk about right to repair when it comes to, like, farmers and tractors and stuff like that, or your iPhone or whatever. But one of the biggest scams is that the U.S. military isn't allowed to fix its own shit. The U.S. military, it's actually illegal for the U.S. military to fix its own shit. They have to get in specialized contractors to go in and fix, from the company, from like a Boeing or a Lockheed Martin, to go in and fix the stuff. So you have specialized contractors that then fly around the world and get paid insane amounts of money to fix shit. It's insane. Yeah, the U.S. military fell for the fucking McDonald's ice cream machine scam. And I do want to be clear, it's not the U.S. military falling for that scheme. It's U.S. legislature, the U.S. legislators, rather, getting bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex, then going, sure, we'll vote for a law that allows you to, have proprietary rights that includes not... no right to repair for the U.S. military. God. But that's a good thing. The Army Corps of Engineers is trash. They might be less trash if they were actually allowed to fix things. And, skill and talent were prioritized, even to an even greater degree. Anyway, all this being said, folks, if you got anything out of this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. Comments really help in the algorithm. And last but not least, wait, it's not last but not least yet. Get organized. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, because, folks, this is colossal geopolitical clusterfuck. If you want to get this fixed, you got to get involved. You got to get involved on the local level, and we can work our way up from there, okay? So join your local Dems, join your local DSA, and if you don't know where to start, you can join our Discord, reach out to GamerG for help with DSA, reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. And folks, we need you. We need you to do this. If you're interested in doing door knocking or phone banking around the country outside of your local area, you can join Progressive Victory. There's a link down below in the description. And also, for real, last but not least this time, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy, non-tucking lingerie. Go check it out. ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down in the description. Let's keep on going. There we go. Can I get a green light from you for a riverboat project? A riverboat jack project? I don't know what project. Also, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. And also, I cannot remember if I said thank you for the previous 5 tier 1 subs. And the Sage Sama, thank you for the $20 super chat. Egramuglia, thank you for the $2 super chat. And I appreciate all y'all for chipping in and helping make this show happen. You guys keeping this show going. Love y'all. Let me update the totals real quick, and I'll take a look at that link you just sent, Sake. Bo-bo. Okay, and there we go. Now, what is this? Oh, yeah. This guy's great.
What is it now?
What? That is a lot of garlic.
There ain't enough Italians, Koreans, and Chinese people to eat that much garlic on a whole planet, now living or dead. No, go ahead, please.
I disagree. Wait a minute. I disagree. We're only getting started with enough garlic there.
All means burn your little hut down. Personally, I don't know how you can afford this. You must be a rich Thai or Cambodian lady, because with that oil, that ain't no peanut oil. That's oil straight of Hormuz. And I don't know how you getting it. You got some connections. I want to hear who they is. Look at it. That's exactly how your butthole about to blow up as soon as you eat all that garlic. Look at you. Burning up like American healthcare.
I'm still waiting for this to turn into something delicious.
Blowing up like the federal deficit. Exploding like this AI bubble. Hotter than Trump coin before the rug pull. Why are you looking at it like you ain't do it? You know who did it. You did it. Boiling garlic in crude oil like you ain't got no damn sense. You go ahead and turn it. Make sure you get all the 5W40 inside all the...
I'm still waiting for this to turn out into being delicious.
Valves and pistons and shit. I hope your booty hole just drop out like a starfish stomach.
Ew. Ew.
Why didn't you do that first? The hell was that?
What?
If you feed the...
God, I desperately want to know. I desperately want to know what she's making. You guys don't understand.
Garlic to a pig to deworm it, I might maybe forgive you, but you ain't gonna do that. What is it now? You're joking. You're not joking. You got whips and chains in your basement, huh? You tie niggas up and you force feed them this shit. Put it down all spiteful, you the one cooking it. But wait, there's more.
Okay, but that garlic oil is gonna taste amazing.
Your ancestors watched your whole country get blown up by France for you to eat unseasoned chicken. Y'all be ashamed of yourself. Oh.
Nah, that looks good as fuck. That looks good as fuck.
I mean, what happened to the garlic? Did you put the garlic in there? Shut up. She has intestinal parasites.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation. You just gonna be funky out the front and the back. Them passport bros gonna leave you alone.
Nah, doggy. Look, she's making sure no vampire is ever gonna fuck with her ever again. Nah, guys, this is brilliant. She fucking lives under Count Strahd von Zarovich.
Oh, let me catch any of my customers cooking my chicken like this. I'm gonna come to your house and... What is it now?
I think that looks great. You know what? I think that lady made something delicious. I support her. And you know what? I think that's great. I think that's great. Eat more garlic. That oil was more bitter than Betty Johnson when his Russian Connect dried up. No kidding.
I have spent 180 plus orders a night at a fry station and my oil has never looked so dirty.
I do want to know what kind of oil she was using. Like, I do want to know, like, I want to know so many more details. Because, like, I'm not ready to just assume that that was just rancid oil. Like, I think that that was, like, just some kind of oil I'm not super familiar with. You know? You know? Oil that her father started using in the 1950s or some shit. It's the same oil every video. Is it really? Well, you know what? You know what? I know many people might be tempted to say that's not great. That's wrong. But you know what? That's some generational oil right there. Okay? That's generational oil. You know what? Her father built up an immunity to that oil. It was passed on to her, and now she has an immunity to that oil as well. Okay? She's building up that immunity. All right?
His other videos are super educational and he is a great guy.
Yeah, isn't this the guy who called out farmers for being like rich white assholes? Like there's just like I think this is the guy who talked about like the economics of farming. I like his stuff. Yeah, she's the OG oiler. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Who's this?
What is it now?
So now I'm seeing videos of people saying, I don't understand why inflation is so high in America.
Corporate greed and monopoly power. This has been pretty well established, especially about that whole egg thing.
I do appreciate his silly voices. Like, he's doing a pretty good Kronk from Emperor's New Groove.
I don't understand why I'm struggling. I don't understand. Okay.
Because the money that corporations used to spend on their employees' salaries and wages are now being directed to stock buybacks. All the productivity gains over the last 40 years have been directed to the rich instead of people doing the actual work.
Well, let me help you out. When you have 20 million people that cross the border.
Or we can just blame the Mexicans.
Because the Biden and Kamala administration just
I'll never forgive Joe Biden for creating the Doritos Tacos Locos.
decided to leave the border.
God, he is doing the Kronk voice. He's doing the Patrick Warburton. I thought it was just like a similarity, but like I can hear he's deliberately trying to do it.
Borders open.
That was one mean taco.
It didn't stop there.
Yeah, that's right. Next came the cheesy gordita crunch. I could be arrested in 50 states for what I did to that toilet.
These people were given free housing.
Didn't happen.
Free food.
Also, didn't happen. Unless you count Los Chili Peppers that Armando stole from his boss.
Some of these people are on welfare.
No, they're not. You look like you might be, though.
Some of these people are on SNAP benefits.
No, they're not.
Who do you think is fitting that bill?
Certainly not you, since the bill is imaginary, but...
God, can I just say I'm really glad I don't do... Like, I don't think I could... I don't think I could do what I do if I had to react to random TikToks. I don't think I could do it. Like, I don't think I could do what he's doing here. Like, I like having longer form content. Is she real? Yeah, conservative, go on TikTok. Like, conservative TikTok is just insane. Like, people are genuinely just unhinged from reality. They talk with 100% confidence as if, like, the world is, like, run by aliens.
Since Patrick Warburton went a little chuddy, someone else needed to take up the mantle of that voice.
That's true, Pluvius. That's true. I hope that Patrick Warburton comes back to us someday. I hope he gets better.
You are now a normal rat.
Coder Joe, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. What? That does not look like a normal rat. This does not look like a normal rat, actually.
It's been direct.
It's very funny how you can tell when certain people started on TikTok or Vine. Editing styles are so crisp and direct. Yeah, it's true. Also, you know, Vine really had an outsized impact on society. It'd be really great if we could go back to Vine because it wasn't long enough. It wasn't a long enough form content for people to develop brainworms. It was just long enough for people to do funny jokes. And that, I think, was perfect for what social media should be. You know? I need to know what this is from. It haunts me, Coder Joe. This fucking haunts me. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Let's take a look at this, then we'll move on to our next segment.
G'day, we're the Irwins, and we're here at the
Aw.
Australia Zoo Wildlife Hospital, where we treat so many animals. Koalas right...
Wait a minute. Okay, I had to make sure that this wasn't... What is this footage from last week tonight? Because if it is, the DMCA gods are going to get angry with me. Vine was mid. Okay, but you can think that Vine was mid, but the thing that made Vine great was that it didn't make people Nazis. People could just be silly little guys on Vine. And I think ultimately that was much preferable to what is happening now. Normal rat source. This is from a video titled Rats Night of Terror. In a post-apocalyptic Earth where most of humanity lives underground, a group of surface people stumble upon an abandoned lab that was trying to bring life back to Earth's surface. I'm sorry, but the place is overrun by vicious rats. What? Incredible stuff. Koalas are silly critters. It's true.
Right now are suffering a disease called chlamydia. It can cause blindness, infertility, and even cost a koala its life.
I love that. Koalas do be fucking, though. Hey, Lasso. Folks, go check out Lasso's content over on Twitch. All right. Isn't that an STD? Yes. Koalas give each other chlamydia. Quality care. All right. Let's jump into this. You guys ready for our next segment? Sheepish T-Rex, Sheepish T-Rex in Twitch chat writes, they can pee on you and you can contract it. And frankly, I don't want to know how people found that out.
The biggest question is who keeps effing our koalas?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that one.
I am the intellectual equivalent of an assault rifle. How do we stop it?
Fuck. All right. The realistic answer is probably a zookeeper, a researcher, hunter, wet market, you know, like what are those? Okay, sorry, important update here from Mod Paladin Lost. Koala urine cannot give chlamydia to humans, only other koalas. That, you know, you're getting some quality facts over here. And there's only one place left for chlamydia to go. From koalas.
Space! Some comedian asked the koalas for a round of applause, but he was bad, so all they gave him was the clap.
Okay. Folks, let's do this. Let's do this. We gotta do a little bit more content, huh? A little bit more content for you guys as a treat. You know? Let's see. Here we go. So, folks, somehow Andrew Cuomo has returned with an op-ed in the Daily News titled "Democrats Must Resist the Shifting Far Left," with the picture of Abdul El-Sayed. I just, can we just, like, before we dive into this, because we are gonna dive into it, the absolute audacity of this man to get clobbered by Zoran Mamdani, who's maybe one of the most popular socialist politicians in US history, to then resurface to write about how Democrats need to resist going too far left, as Zoran Mamdani just, like, absolutely dominates. Just real quick, I want to throw this up here. This is just like a throwaway thing that happened like a little over a week ago that I just thought was neat. I've been meaning to talk about. But they pledged to come up with a new kind of heating system and cooling system for the New York City subway system. Because a lot of folks who take the subway in New York City know it gets really, really hot. And that's because the subway system was built so long ago that it doesn't really have a way to manage the heat generated by the subway system or by, air conditioning in the subway system, etc. And so Zoran Mamdani got on it. Let's hear what he came up with.
Stations for our subway riders, and the city of New York gets to save on energy costs potentially. Now, it's not clear just how much cooling we're going to be able to deliver or how much money is going to be saved. That's what the study is supposed to figure out. But we look forward to getting that data and sharing the analysis when we have them. I want to thank the mayor, who has elevated transit at City Hall to match Governor Hochul's tremendous 5-year energy that we've had in Albany. When we all get on the same page, we can do great things. And we're already seeing it with buses. So with that, let me turn it over to the mayor, and then we'll hear from our controller, from the public advocate.
One of the things I like about Zoran Mamdani and his team is that they do these press conferences in the place that they're talking about. I think that's good. I think that is just unambiguously good. It gets people in touch with what the conditions are actually like. And I think that's wonderful. I think that needs to happen even more. Real quick, did we lose alerts? I might have lost alerts on this page. Real quick, let me pull this up. No, the alerts are there. Weird. Anyway, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. He's so cool, he personally lowers the temp multiple degrees by getting involved. Indeed. I mean, that's kind of what it seems like, right?
From the DCAS commissioner and from the CCO of the City of New York as well. Mayor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Lieber. It is a pleasure to be here alongside so many partners in government as we announce the transformation of the Chambers Street station. However, I cannot say that it is a pleasure to be here on the Chambers Street JZ platform, a subway stop that has been described by New Yorkers as a poster child for dilapidation, a Street Fighter II arena, or simply, I'm getting off at Canal. I want to thank the governor and the MTA for leading this work and for using the funds from congestion pricing to improve New Yorkers' lives. I want to acknowledge, as we've heard, we have our New York City...
Like, it's also nice that he just talks about it in terms that, like, young people understand. Oh, it's like a Street Fighter 2, like, fight arena. Okay, that makes sense. Sake Tanuki, appreciate you.
Controller Mark Levine, who is here with us, our Public Advocate Jumani Williams, our DCAS Commissioner Yume Kitase, our Chief Climate Officer Louise Young, and our New York City Transit President Demetrius Critchlow, who is here with us. When this station opened in 1913, it was a testament to a city ahead of its time, a city that built great things, bridges that were feats of structural engineering, buildings that soared into the sky, a transit system that would become the envy of the world. And it was also a testament to the city workers who labored in municipal offices directly overhead, who made that city possible. This station's grand vaulted ceilings and marble and terracotta detailing made real the conviction that our public infrastructure should reflect the ambition of the city it serves. And yet, as the years passed, this station slowly fell into a state of decay and disrepair. More than 100 years later, the Chambers Street Station has become somewhat of a chamber of horrors, no longer a testament to the greatness of our city, but physical proof of generations of neglect. Today, as we announce the comprehensive renovation of a station that Twitter user @ExonyZoom described as the, quote, stuff of nightmares, we are bringing that legacy of abandonment to an end. This restoration will bring the station back to its original grandeur and deliver the dignified commute that
Oh, but here's the thing. Fuser Shea writes, I would hate to have to stand behind someone speaking who is on camera. Like, what do? Just stand there awkwardly? One, yes. But two, would you stand behind someone if you knew that by being on camera with them, it would advance your career? You could point to this moment as a moment where you actively contributed to the same project that well-beloved and liked figure also contributed to, right?
Chambers Street is also a great station to use as a pilot, as it's literally within a 10 minutes walk of City Hall.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a central location, people know it, and well, one, I think it's a perfect test case for what they're about to propose, but we'll get into that in a moment. But also, thank you for the 5 tier 1 sub, Sake Tanuki. Like, what Zoran Mamdani is doing here is a political favor to each one of these people standing behind him and beside him, who's going to come up to the podium and talk for a little bit after he's done. Like, they are going to be able to use this for the next 20 years of their political careers. Like, it is done deliberately to build bridges with other members of the political establishment so that he can both build his own power and also help those who are coming up after him.
Every New Yorker deserves. It will rebuild crumbling stairwells and broken doors. It will make critical structural repairs, including fixes to the ceiling and to the underlying issues that caused regular leaks. It will install new station lighting and security cameras to keep New Yorkers safe. And it will restore the ceramic tiles, mosaic.
You'll also notice this isn't unique to Zoran, but he does, I think, do it a lot better than other politicians do. It seems to be a lot more calculated, a lot more intentional with Zoran. But you'll see other politicians doing this too, like governors of states. Donald Trump does it at his rallies, stuff like that.
Terracotta decorations and marble bases that make this station so unique. As we stand together to celebrate the restoration of this station's past, we also will renew our ambitions for the future. Those ambitions, as you heard from Chair Lieber, extend to transforming the only thing that causes more anxiety than descending into the Chambers Street Station, the prospect of standing on the subway platform in the heat of summer. That is why I am proud to announce that City Hall's partnership with the MTA will extend to the Joint Thermal Energy Network feasibility study in the adjacent Brooklyn Bridge City Hall station. Anyone who has stood on a subway platform in August knows that our stations do not just get hot, they turn into underground saunas. And if you, like me, do not know what a summer suit is and choose instead to commute in a wool one, let me tell you, it is far from a therapeutic experience. During the summer, the Brooklyn Bridge City Hall station becomes one of the hottest stations in New York City. This Thermal Energy Network feasibility study will explore the possibility of using the heat that accumulates in this station over the summer to heat the municipal campus above us come winter. That includes not only the David Dinkins Municipal Building, but also Tweed Courthouse, Surrogates Court, and City Hall. To do so, we would capture heat in boreholes that would run 500 to 600 feet underground and install a system of circulating pumps and pipes that will use the heat from below our city's surface to warm the offices where our municipal workers are hard at work, powering this incredible city.
I love this. I love heat pumps. Heat pumps are incredibly efficient. And also, this is genius. This is genius. It's efficient, but also, yeah, use the heat generated by the New York City subway system to then heat buildings in the wintertime. Store all of that heat, store that thermal energy, and use it when it gets cold. That's brilliant. If you can figure out a way to make that work for City Hall, then you can make that work for all of New York City. That would genuinely be great. Is he talking geothermal? I mean, kind of. He's basically saying that the New York City subway system gets so hot that you can effectively, instead of drilling all as far down as you would need for geothermal, you can use that geothermal energy and pool it into reservoirs to be tapped into during the wintertime. Which is pretty interesting. So yeah, it's kind of a form of geothermal. It's not what people typically think of as geothermal, but heat pumps are very well known and used throughout the country. You typically find it in more sustainable designs for buildings, but I guess I just never thought of attaching a system like that to the New York City subway. But that's brilliant. That's a great idea. Did he mention what type of storage he's using for the heat? I know that sand can be used, but let's hear him out. Let's hear him out.
Finland already does something like this.
Exactly. This is where I'm familiar with what is being talked about here as well. Like the Nordic countries all have different versions of this. The world's largest cavern thermal energy storage, Varanto. Building a seasonal thermal energy storage facility in Vantaa, Finland. Our seasonal thermal energy store heat in underground caverns so that it can be used to heat buildings via the district heat network. Giant underground facility. 3 caverns, 200 meters wide, 300 meters long, 40 meters high. Be excavated. The bottom of the caverns will be 100 meters below ground level. Capacity of the caverns is huge. The total volume is 1,100,000 cubic meters. Okay, the underground caverns will be filled with hot air. Pressure will be created within the space, allowing the water to reach temperatures of up to 140 degrees without the water boiling or evaporating. The total thermal capacity of the fully charged seasonal thermal energy storage is 80 gigawatt hours, equivalent to as much as 8 million euros worth of district heat. Yeah, I mean, like, this is very much possible to do. I guess I imagine there'd be like storage in, if we're talking about like a borehole storage, then I'm guessing like maybe high pressure, like really high pressure storage. I guess I'm curious to know like what kind of fluid would be used there. Maybe water, maybe something else. Very, very cool.
It also avoids having to shut down multiple stations or even lines for renovations in the most used public transit system in the country.
Yeah. I just think that this is really cool. Like this is, let me put it this way, if I was playing like some kind of management colony sim, like Oxygen Not Included, this would be a brilliant technology to unlock to fix a very persistent problem of overheating. And I think that that's great. It's great to see this rolled out on the subway.
This would be the first thermal energy system of its kind in any American transit system. A historic feat that would not only help the city to save money and limit steam consumption, but help us mitigate the extreme level of heat in our subway stations. Through both the renovations and the thermal energy network, we would be making these stations cool again. And we'd be making what is old new.
See what he did there? I gotta give it to him. I cannot do a Marge Simpson voice, I'm sorry.
Again. After all, one of the original plans for this station's ventilation system consisted of 4 large cooling fans connected to groundwater pumps, a system designed to protect New Yorkers from the summer heat. While more than a century has passed, the conceit remains the same. New Yorkers deserve subway stations that give us a glimpse into our future. And that is exactly what we intend to deliver. Thank you very much. And now with that...
It's very, very cool stuff. I love it. But, like, Zoran's over here tackling problems that have plagued, like, the New York City subway system for, 100 years. And meanwhile, Andrew Cuomo's over here writing op-eds about how actually, farther left Democrats are the devil. All right, let's dive into it. This political season, the major dynamic among Democrats is an ideological contest. I love that he puts air quotes around ideological. Between the new far left and party moderates. I think it's less ideological than primordial. Ooh, we're going back to the soupy ooze, the primordial ooze from whence we all came. All life on Earth, primordial conflict between the far left and moderates. When the when the primordial oozes were divided between the moderates and the far lefts. The far left oozes, of course, became modern humanity. And, the more moderate oozes slowly morphed into what today we recognize as the Republican Party. But let's continue. Democrats are angry and frustrated. That anger is driven primarily by President Trump, compounded by surrounding himself with America's richest and most powerful. So I do want to say the anger isn't primarily being driven by Donald Trump. The anger pre-existed Donald Trump. Donald Trump is exacerbating all of the lines of anger that previously existed. It's a massive inflammation of the pre-existing anger. And that inflammation, it's important to note, didn't come out of nowhere. Like, Trump obviously did make it worse, but people were still economically struggling and needing Medicare for all before Donald Trump. People were still upset at police brutality before Donald Trump. Before introducing, like, a masked terrorist organization to operate as secret police in our communities, people were pretty upset about government overreach. So I do want to point out Andrew Cuomo's already very off his game, if he ever had a game to begin with. Bernie Sanders' decades-old cry against oligarchy now resonates because the moment has met the message. Economic hardship for working families and young people exacerbates their frustration and disenfranchisement, while a tepid Democratic leadership response adds to anti-establishment sentiment. The anger doesn't stop there. Well, it's just like the economic hardship for working families and young people, like, that, again, pre-exists Trump. The 2008 financial collapse pre-exists Trump. We have never recovered from 2008. Millennials came of age in an economic downturn of historic proportion, and the economy never got better. Instead, it got propped up time after time by investor cash. And right now, we are living under the final gasp of the economy being propped up by investor cash. When this AI bubble goes, and there are some indications it is already going, like, it's going to be devastating if we do not have enough support. God. Many Democrats, especially younger ones, are angry at Israel over Gaza. The deaths and suffering are unquestionably a grave human tragedy. But Surprisingly, that anger has metastasized into actual anti-Semitism, not merely opposition to Israel's government, but blaming Jewish Americans and contributing to anti-Semitic incidents, with assaults reaching record levels. Why are American Jews being targeted in a way no other ethnic or religious group has been in modern history? Now, I will say anti-Semitism is terrible. I will also say that perhaps one of the biggest contributors to this rise of anti-Semitism is the Democratic establishment's insistence on conflating Jewish people with the state of Israel. Conflating those two things is what is leading to this. And like, the broader left is not conflating those two things. The people doing the conflation are establishment Democrats. That conflation itself is anti-Semitic. When people conflate the state of Israel and say, it has the right to be an ethno-supremacist state, they abandon their liberal principles, their liberal values. When you engage in ethno-state apologia, that's what you're doing. So when we're talking about this anti-Semitism, the anti-Semitism that I see, by and large, day after day, perpetuated by Democrats, is coming from the Democratic establishment. It's this narrative that is doing the damage. Again, it is the failure of the Democratic establishment to recognize the danger of pledging loyalty to another nation when they represent the people who live in America, and it is the failure to recognize the danger of taking that money from lobbying groups, and it is the failure to recognize the incredible amount of anti-Semitic damage that is done by saying the actions of a state are the same as the actions of an ethnic group. That's a huge problem, because they're implicitly saying if you criticize the state of Israel for engaging in genocide, you are therefore doing anti-Semitism to all Jewish people. And that's just bullshit. But some people who believe their argument, that leads them to anti-Semitism. Like, God. It's the side effect of having a Nazi government, blame the right. But that's what I'm getting at, right? The side effect here of taking money from an ethno-state is that you adopt some of the ideology of the ethno-state. You in fact inject this poisonous idea into the Democratic Party and the American psyche. And that's not good. Mainstreaming ethno-supremacy is never a good thing. But that's what the Democratic establishment has done. And so I just think that part of the problem, of course, is the government that is doing the genocide. But then there is a level of complicity that the Democratic establishment is engaged in to support that. And that is poisonous. It is poisonous. So I guess I would just say to Andrew Cuomo, if you want to address this, you have to fix the heart of the Democratic Party so that we aren't conflating the actions of a state with an ethnic group. You have to root out the, ethno-state rhetoric from the Democratic Party. You cannot tolerate politicians who are supporting ethno-states. And it should be pretty easy, right? It should be easy to point this out. It should be easy to say, I do not support ethno-states. It should be easy to say, actually, I think that genocide should not be ever permissible. But too many Democrats have taken too much money to actually do what is the decent thing, the just thing, to speak out against genocide. And that is a problem. Anti-Trump and anti-Semitic sentiment coalesce into a broader anti-establishment movement fueled by younger voters and immigrants. Like, holy shit. We get through one more sentence. So, Andrew Cuomo here is saying anti-Trump and anti-Semitism have come together because young people and immigrants are both anti-Trump and anti-Semitic. That's insane. In last year's New York City mayoral election, I won among voters born in the city, but lost among recent residents. Holy shit, he's just going full racist. He's just going full racist. Oh my god. Yeah, the people who moved to New York City and weren't born in New York City, they're not real residents of New York City. No, guys, you don't understand. If you weren't born in New York, you're not a New Yorker. I'm sorry. Truly disgusting rhetoric. Fuck, man. In Michigan, Abdul El Sayed dominated college towns and university counties, while Haley Stevens won more than 60% in Detroit and carried traditional Democratic strongholds. The thing that's crazy to me is, you should be looking at what he did right. You should be looking at what he did right to win over outside of Democratic strongholds. Because the Democratic strongholds aren't the places you need to win over when we're talking about a general election. This is more about emotion than ideology. If ideology were driving it, the movement would select candidates best positioned to defeat Republicans. That's not what you do in primaries. In primaries, you vote for the candidate you most want to see in office. Because guess what? The algorithm that Democrats have used, especially establishment Democrats have used to determine who is and is not going to win elections, has been utterly destroyed in this current era. For example, if you take Andrew Cuomo's ideas at face value here, Angie Nixon never should have run in her Democratic primary in Florida. She just won against the establishment candidate who outspent her 36-1. She had a budget for her entire campaign of $60,000. She just won a statewide Democratic primary.
I thought he, as well as the Gripsteeds founder, were leaving NYC.
God, I really was hoping he was going to make good on that promise. But no. Instead, it has chosen far-left candidates less competitive than many moderates they defeated. By the way, it's really easy to say that they're less competitive when you haven't seen the general election yet. Who was this again? He's the guy who lost to Zoran Mamdani. He's a real chumbus. The organized opposition is largely the Democratic Socialists of America, with only 120,000 members and little coherent ideology. Only 120,000 members. Only the largest socialist organization to ever exist in the United States. Its platform reflects the deep frustration and alienation with the system. Eliminate the presidency in favor of a parliamentary system. Eliminate the Supreme Court and Senate. Defund the police. Again, these are not universally agreed upon ideas from DSA. Many of these proposals require constitutional amendments approved by 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states. Nor can a state realistically become socialist. Tax the rich and redistribution sound enticing, but ultimately risk driving wealth to the other 49 states. Again, you said that was what was going to happen in New York City, and yet here you are, still apparently in New York City. But I will also say, The pied-à-terre tax has happened in New York City. And guess what? The rich aren't fleeing the city. This is insane, dog. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry here. This is insane.
I lost. Here's why the voters were wrong. Notorious sex pest.
Right. The idea that the government can't tax the rich is maybe one of the most insane. We have taxed the rich. We taxed the rich at a higher rate when we had literal robber barons. Like, we have taxed the rich at far higher rates than we tax now. We can do it again.
The only problem with defund the police is the extra D. Defund the police is a more accurate description of the changes to public service.
Indeed. But it's just like, the country has been at its most profitable for both the rich and the working class back when we taxed the rich. What should Democrats do? I also just want to point out that taxing the rich doesn't make the United States a socialist country. Just passing more taxation on the rich is not what socialism is. That's still capitalism. It's just capitalism with more taxes on the rich. That's it. What should Democrats do? Let it run its course. Trump will leave office, anti-Trump anger will subside, and hopefully peace will come to the Middle East. The more the DSA explains radical change, the less credible it becomes. Open borders and closing prisons defy common sense. Yeah, heaven forbid the United States not incarcerate the most people on the face of the planet. Like, we don't need to do that. We actually don't need private prisons that lobby for like more people to be criminalized and put in their low security prisons to be used as like slave labor. We actually don't need that. We don't need that to prop up our economy. We don't need that to like make the country a better place. We actually don't need to do that. Free buses and tax the rich will produce little positive change and potentially serious negative consequences, compounded by their incompetent executive management. Will attack on Zoran Mamdani, you know, a man who has been uniquely capable and been getting shit done since day one. But sure. Also, yeah, Andrew Cuomo, slander free buses as if the ability to freely traverse the city of New York isn't, in fact, an incredibly good thing to do. Like, but hey, Ferris, that is how it comes across. It comes across like him saying, huh, you lefties, you want to end slavery? That's insane. You're crazy. And it's just like, yeah, we should end slavery. We should end the private prison industrial complex. We should do that, actually. Wait, what? You want free buses? Yeah, we should do that, actually. It turns out working class people being able to get where they want cheaply for free and lowering the cost of like enforcement. Because guess what? It actually costs a lot of money to enforce tolls and fares on buses and subways. Just as an FYI, we don't need them. The short-term danger is November. Democrats will do well. History favors the non-incumbent party in midterms, while the Iran war and gasoline prices will matter. But another force in is America's instinct for balanced power. Trump's presidency has been extraordinarily dominant. Americans distrust unbridled power and will support Democrats simply to restore a check on the president. I fear that the far left will then claim responsibility for victory, strengthening its movement into 2028 and pressuring moderates to capitulate. That creates an opening for Republicans. Extremists can win blue states, but presidential elections and congressional control are decided in purple states, and America will not elect extremists and socialists. Which is an incredibly rich thing to say coming from a man who got defeated by a socialist who's just been doing shit nonstop to make the city a better place. Now, this is the actual reason he's scared, by the way, is because people like Zoran Mamdani, who get elected as a socialist to office right now in this transitional moment, they know that they're in a spot. They're in a difficult position. You need to focus on getting shit done and delivering results so that people know that when they elect socialists, they get results, right? That's what is the number one priority of socialists who get elected to office. And what Andrew Cuomo is afraid of here is socialists actually delivering on these promises. What happens to this argument if Zoran Mamdani actually does deliver free buses? What happens to this argument if people start pointing out that various municipalities across the United States have already delivered free buses? What happens if you point out that, well, actually saying we should have government-provided childcare, that's already a thing that's done in parts of the United States, and we can do it in new parts too? What happens if you point out that municipal grocery stores and municipal liquor stores have existed across the Midwest for 100 years, operating without problems? Well, suddenly, Andrew Cuomo's argument here completely breaks down, because in the face of competent governance, moderate Democrats stop looking like the adults in the room and start looking like out-of-touch conservatives. And right now, especially, Democratic voters hate conservatives. Democrats need an honest discussion after a long look in the mirror. Do we become a fringe party driven by division and anger, or restore a progressive tradition of uniting people and governing efficiently or effectively to improve people's lives? We have 2 years to decide. Just want to point out here, people do not want a return to status quo. That was what Joe Biden's entire administration was about. And what wound up happening? His governing coalition fell apart. His successor was not able to make a compelling argument because people were already disillusioned and harmed by the status quo. And so people took a chance and voted in Trump again. And now we have the shittiest president in the history of the country. And the lesson that people are taking away from that is not, oh, we need to go back to the status quo again because it was so good. The lesson people are taking from that is we need to go farther left because that is the only actual check on the ascendant fascist movement in America. What the fuck did Cuomo even do? He was the 56th governor of New York, which this article handily includes at the very bottom of the of this article. So just as a reminder, Zoran Mamdani beat the former governor of New York State, which, you know, pretty cool. Also, worth pointing out there that much like Donald Trump, Andrew Cuomo has been embroiled in a lot of sex scandals and, you know, maybe isn't a great guy to take political advice from after being handily defeated in a mayoral election and also, again, having numerous allegations against him. So, all that being said, folks, I do think it's funny that Andrew Cuomo emerged to make the shittiest arguments imaginable and is now gone back into the shadows. And I think that's great. Anyway, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Comments really, really help in the algorithm. And folks, I also just want to say, the only way we beat these bastards, the only way we beat these status quo Dems, the only way we beat these establishment fucks is by getting organized. So join your local Dems, join your local DSA, start learning how to navigate that space because we need people to show up to the meetings. When you show up to meetings, you can actually do really cool shit. The DNC recently voted on what the official Democratic platform was going to be. And because people in the room joined their local Democrats and worked their way up to become delegates and worked their way up through the system and became part of the DNC, guess what? They adopted officially as the Democratic platform, abolish ICE. That is the official part of the Democratic platform. They also were able to defend ranked choice voting because for whatever reason, establishment Dems in the DNC wanted to adopt a resolution to oppose ranked choice voting as a party. So, just as an FYI, that's part of the reason you get involved. All right? All that being said, if you need help getting started, you can join our Discord. Reach out to Gamergy for help joining your local DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems. And last but not least, folks, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy, non-tucking lingerie. Go check it out. ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down in the description. Let's keep on going.
So what I'm getting here is that Andy Cuomo just went full of hood off.
I mean, yeah, I mean, effectively, when Andrew Cuomo is like, well, the only reason I lost is because of all these non-native immigrants. Like, I mean, that's pretty racist. Yeah. Also, Tiralana, thank you for the $5 super chat. And folks, let's keep going. All right, folks. We've been going now for over 3 hours. If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and do consider financially supporting the program because you guys make this show possible. I could not do it without you fine folks making this show possible day after day. Go, go, go. Click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click the button, click the button, click the button, click the goddamn button, click button, click button, click There we go, folks. Will anything really change in the USA? If you get involved in your local government, yes, things can actually get better. Folks are banding together to ban data centers. They're, getting together to kick ICE out of their communities. People are going nuts. They're going sicko mode, banding together and making things better, okay? It is a pain to get involved, but it is pain well spent. Pain is a guarantee in life. Might as well spend some of that pain making things better for other people and yourself. All right. Well, we did not crash tonight, so that's good. It's very good we didn't crash. Would you say they are politics maxing? Hell yeah. All right. That being said, folks, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm not gonna push it too far, but we are going to. We've got more to talk about tomorrow, and I think tomorrow we might also get into. I don't know. I might tackle some of these articles I've been putting off for a while. already. Yeah, I'm low energy tonight, and my voice feels a little rough, and I don't want to push it and be hoarse tomorrow. So I know it's a for me, relatively short stream, but I do want to point out I did give you an hour and a half longer than the Majority Report runs. So, you know, just as an FYI, I did give you guys an hour and a half more than the Majority Report does every day. It's short for me, not short compared to other shows. Be pony tomorrow instead, rest up. That is what I will do. I'm gonna go make some soup and hang out with my partner before bedtime. That's Emma Viglin's show? It is Emma Viglin's show. Also, just as a, you know, heads up, you all should check out the Mehdi Hassan, Sam Cedar discussion that they have on Zeteo. It's great. Highly recommend. Anyway, I will see you all tomorrow, folks. Take it easy. And just as an FYI before we end, we are on the verge of 200 subs. And that means we are getting closer and closer to our sit down and our experience with Titanium Daydream, the movie. And I'm very excited for us to experience that together. So, all that being said, I'm excited and hope you all had a good time. Bye. Boop-a-doop-boop-a-doop-boop-boop.
Underground rap, mutant sewer hounds, prowling around these parts, always hidden in the dark. Suddenly they screech, incoherent rodent speech. Such a putrid smell permeates a sewer well. One man stands alone, red beret above his dome. Sleema was his name, fighting climbing rodent game. Be the rat men who live in sewer rat dens. Taking one last breath, if time we fight all to the death. Gee, Sarge, you're telling me that I need to go after this rat man. I needed to, like, bait him or something. So, I gave him a whole wheel of cheese, Sarge. It cost like $2,000 and I used your credit card, Sarge. I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be a good investment, but, oh, jeez, I'm gonna get it now. Oh.